I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-looking for another load. Well, it's a family tradition, any Rocky Mountain day. Our fathers before us showed us the way. We work for asphalt cowboys and concrete kings, but that's never been a problem, cause we got diesel in our veins. We've got diesel in our veins. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road.
What's up, JFW family? Welcome back to the Channel 23 podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to reach out and touch the fleet, to engage and inform everyone with all things JFW. Welcome, Jim, Super Dave, and our very special guest, Danielle Weaver.
Morning, everybody.
Top of the day your way, drivers.
Morning.
Morning, Danielle.
Danielle, you just off from work today? You were able to come in, or how'd you manage to pull this off?
I have a newish job where I am in clinical education now, so I'm considered a clinical specialist, like a nurse educator now. So I have flexible hours, which is great. So
that sounds fancy.
Putting it in. Yeah, my title is very long.
What is it?
I am the WIS specialty clinical specialist educator for the Western Division for Banner. So
very cool.
13 facilities and
wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And for those of you who don't know, Danielle is Jim White's daughter. Oldest daughter.
My oldest daughter.
The original.
My old school trucking buddy.
Did you guys used to go trucking a lot?
Oh, a lot.
Yeah.
Spent at least 3 summers, Danielle?
Yeah.
When you'd come out and stay with us and
Wow,
riding
so
the truck every day. Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah.
We had some fun.
I used to sleep like on the floor.
She
Used to sleep on the floor, like below the driver's or the passenger seat,
Oh, okay.
curled up, much blankets.
That's awesome. Well, Danielle, you've listened to the podcast before, so I'm sure you know. We're about to say the pledge. If you guys are out there or girls are out there riding around and you want to join us, we would be honored if you did so. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Father God, we thank you for the opportunity to go out and do some trucking today. We pray for the safety of our fleet, all of their families, and all the other families and individuals we come across on the road today. We pray for patience and in making the good, safe decisions. We pray to be accident-free and that we all make it back to the comfort of our homes this evening. We pray for healing and 100% recovery for all of our family members that are ill. No matter what, we trust you, God, and it's in Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
As a reminder, anything you hear on today's podcast is not the opinion of JFW's or Banner Health.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just our opinion and Danielle's.
Yes.
Episode 130 had 308 downloads. We are at 72.3 thousand total downloads, and we have 571 followers.
Hey, Jim, do you know, I believe, really hope it was Frank's wife, and I don't remember her name, but she was a volunteer.
I think Frank's wife, hold on.
Yeah, she was doing the bin.
She was doing the bin, yeah.
Watching the backup distances.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know what? I left all the names downstairs. I'll need to go get those. I think her name is Lori.
Okay, super fun to talk to. Engaged, we had a great day, but we were asking her, we were discussing it. So the downloads, she never downloads it. She just listens to the podcast. So, and then she asked us, so if you just listen, does it register as a download?
It does.
Okay. Yeah. That was, because we were pretty sure that if you listen to it, it's still a download.
Downloads and plays are the same.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. If you didn't download it to your actual device, is it considered a download? And it is.
It's exactly, that was her question, yeah. And I'm like, well, I think, if you play it, it's still a download. So awesome, good.
Absolutely. Do you guys know the difference between wallpaper and toilet paper?
Wallpaper, toilet paper.
Soup?
I think they're the same.
You're disgusting.
So
And then I got one more.
Okay,
This one's for
go ahead,
Danielle.
go ahead.
This is for Danielle. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
HIPAA.
HIPAA who?
You know I can't tell you that.
Oh, man. HIPAA.
Okay, so mine's more kind of a riddle. What is dirty on the outside but remains clean on the inside?
Oh, man. JFW Truck Up and Fry.
Exactly. Exactly.
Or Wallstrom, excuse me.
Yeah.
What's
I don't
say
know.
it again?
So, what is dirty on the outside but remains clean on the inside?
I don't know.
So, it was kind of a cute little TikTok I watched. So, they asked the same question, and the person goes, "A coffin." And the person's like, yeah, but the real answer is a bar of soap.
That's funny.
Right?
Do you know why pediatricians are always so angry?
I do not know why they're so
I
angry.
didn't know they were.
It's because they have little patience.
That is true. That is true. I got some redneck
That's a
jokes
good one.
for you.
Yeah.
Since we're kind of all rednecks, I thought it would fit
We are
very
kind of
well.
all rednecks.
What did the redneck do when he saw a sign that said, "Just say no to crack"?
Pulled up his pants.
Pulled up his pants. Right on, Jim. Got another good. I like this one too. What is the best 5 years of redneck's life?
The last 5?
4th grade.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow. That's terrible. While I was looking for a nurse's joke, I came across a meme, and it's a lady sitting on the table, and the doctor's holding his eye, like she punched him in his eye, and it says, "All I said is you had acute angina."
People have to know what that means.
I know.
Angina is chest pain, just so you know.
But acute.
Acute.
Sudden.
Did you guys know that most medical professionals don't refer to home births as deliveries?
What do they refer? I don't know.
Because technically speaking, if a baby is born at home, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
Man, you guys must have a lot of jokes at work.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they were podcast safe.
Sure.
We do have a lot of
Yeah,
jokes.
the real good ones aren't.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
You know what? I need to add some more employees. So new employees this week, we got James Felipe and Elvin Spates, I think is how you pronounce it. But we also had,
Spites.
he said Spates, like
I'm
eights.
pretty sure he said Spites.
Well, let's bet a cheeseburger. Want to bet a cheeseburger?
We'll ask him.
All right.
Well, welcome, Elvin.
Yes. We're going to argue about your name. Welcome to the fleet. And then Teddy, I don't know his last name, but we had a new mechanic join the shop.
Oh yeah, Teddy. Yep. Met him yesterday.
Yep.
Great guy.
And then celebrations, congrats to JR and his nephew and Casey and his daughter. They both got baptized this past Sunday at church, so that was pretty exciting.
Congratulations. And for Casey, I know we made a little bit of fun. You were talking about being baptized, and I know we had to joke around about it at first, but congratulations being serious, So,
I didn't hear the jokes.
well, we were talking about
The
splashing a
scuba
little
ball?
water on you or totally submerging you. And, we talked about, we could take care of Casey because there was a puddle at yard 23. We could just take him over to the puddle and baptize him, and
There you go.
away he'd go.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. When they dunked JR, they pulled him up, and then the dude shook his head no and then did it again, trying to get all that sin out of there.
Scooby come up with when we were talking to Casey, and he said, "You know what you need to do, Casey?" And Casey's like, "What?" And he said, "The minute they dunk you, you stand back up and go, 'It's burning! It's burning!'"
Oh, my gosh.
I did see that. That's funny. Anniversaries, Rosario Garcia, Mr. Perfecto, hit 7 years this past Sunday.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's great.
Awesome, Rosario.
And then JR, speaking of JR, he hits 8 years tomorrow. And then Ish Coronado, he actually hits 2 years tomorrow. So
Congratulations,
happy-
you guys.
Yes. Happy
Back again to
anniversary.
that time thing. I mean, I know we say it every podcast, but man,
Goes quick.
flying.
Birthdays, we got Johnny Beret and Tracy Holloway. They share a birthday on the 10th. And Matt Cummins has a birthday on the 11th. So
Happy birthday, you guys.
happy birthday, guys. And then family birthday celebrations. We missed this one because Carlos is fairly new, but going back, his wife, Victoria, she had a birthday on the 2nd. And then his son, Elias, turned 6 on Monday. So happy birthday to them.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Then Jose Barraza's wife, Norma, she had a birthday on the 6th. Happy birthday, Norma. Then Rachel Rodaba, which is Jesse's wife, and Alejandra Gordillo, which is Alberto's wife. They both had a birthday on the 7th, which was yesterday. And then Stephanie Nichols' son, Thomas, has a birthday today. So
Happy birthday,
happy
everybody.
birthday.
Happy
everyone.
birthday, all.
Was it last week we didn't have any birthdays? Was that?
We had birthdays, but not family. Well, no, we had no
I
birthdays.
didn't think we had.
But we actually did, because that would have been Victoria Odette, Carlos Meza's wife.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, we didn't have any on the outline. So shout outs. I want to give a shout out to the JFW family. Came up to set the podcast this morning. I came up to set up the podcast this morning, and there was a nice little gift bag sitting right here in my seat, and it had a bunch of really sentimental things that I will hold on to for the rest of my life for graduating EMT school. So thank you all for doing that. And then Caden Spiller, we want to give him a shout out for actually finding a real problem on a truck at the truck rodeo. So that's pretty cool. Good job, Caden.
Yeah, do we go over that any place later in this, Jan? Because I want to touch on that, and I didn't follow up with it. Is the I think that was Chris Beams. He drive 23,
22.
Yeah.
22. I mean, the whole rim, you guys, was broke. I mean,
Yeah,
it
there was a chunk, big chunk.
Yeah,
out
it
of
was missing. I mean, I've never seen an aluminum wheel ever do that. I don't care how hard it's been hit or burnt or whatever happened to it. And yeah, he did. Caden did happen to see that during the walk around. We were, we were trying to be real, right? We let air out of a tire. We unplugged lights. We did all this stuff. We set this up, and there's a real defect that Caden noticed and caught.
Yep.
And I don't want to get crazy with it, but I told Mike, and nothing against Chris Beam. I want to make sure that everybody understands that on 22 there, that I don't think I would look doing an inspection, Dave. Have you ever looked on the inside of every rim?
Not really. That's kind of a thing that if you were checking your air line to the brake can or checking your brake pads and that, then you would be looking in that general direction and you'd say, oh my gosh, look at my rim.
Right?
You know?
Right? Yeah, but it's not something
But
you
so
go.
it has to be on the upside. It can't be down on the bottom.
Yeah, or in the back, or
Yeah,
as you're
right,
looking.
right.
Yeah. I thought, what a great catch, and to find that was amazing. And I guess what I'm leading up to is I don't know if that tire would have blown out, and you possibly could have saved somebody's life or Chris's life. In the big scheme of things. So way to find that rim broken. And I know Rick Gray, he kind of joked around. He wants to use his truck next year for the one. So in case he's missing something,
Rick.
Rick, right? It gets found. He joked with us, but yeah, good stuff there finding that. I'm glad we did. So
Rick, isn't it?
right. Yeah.
Great find. Coleman O'Mara, Coleman hurt his ankle this past weekend riding a motocross event.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, he has a high ankle sprain.
Oh,
Yeah. So, Coleman, he's going to come to work regardless.
Sure.
But he wants to give a shout out to Ryan Emmerling for sweeping his trailer out. Ryan noticed Coleman was having a little bit of a hard time and jumped in there and helped him out.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Do you have? I know you ran down and got the list, Jim, for the shout outs. Do you want to go through that? Is that?
We could go through that now. Yeah.
'Cause I want to make sure. Do you have Flood and Pete on there too?
There are people from Flood and Pete on the list.
Okay. I mean, that was my shout out to.
Hand that down to Jim. If you want
the
to go
group.
through the names, Jim.
Yeah, I can.
That'd be awesome.
I can.
If you want to follow along, you don't have to. But
Yeah, we had volunteers and family members and stuff like that. So, do we have the Flood and Pete on
Yep,
here?
they are.
Oh yeah, there. I got it. Was reading that. So volunteers. My first shout out here to the Flood and Pete crew. Libby, Andrew, Lena, Kristen, and they were all from Flood and Peterson. I believe Andrew is Libby's husband. He was there, just kind of hanging out with his wife, and they all had great questions. They brought swag bags and all that kind of stuff, and it was just good chatting with them. And they had a lot of questions about what we do. They were impressed with our drivers. It was fun to have them there and participate. So a big thanks to the F&P crew. It's awesome there. And then I want to throw out there too, you guys. Volunteers, you were right, Jam. So Frank and Lori McCoy, great job. Lori was a hoot working the bin and stuff. That was the bin you had to back up into. And then Ricardo Cordova and his wife Maria, just good. It was good times. It was good people, fun, all the help. Big John, he was working the barrels there. That was awesome to talk with John and watch people back up or try to back up. It was good. Don Keller, Fabian Sotelo with Rick was there. Ray Davis, he DJ'd. Always fun to have Ray DJ. Good stuff. And then family drivers, Troy Holmes' wife Vicky, Nicolette, which is George P's roommate, right? That's how that is. Uh-huh. And then LOL Joanne, we had family members on there.
How did she do?
Good. I know she went by me and Dave, and I said, "Dave, is that Joanne?" And Dave's like, "Yeah, I think it is." So we both screamed like we had to get out of the way while she was driving. I don't know if she heard us.
Who was in the truck with her? Was it Ray?
It was Ray.
Ray?
It was Ray.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Nice job, Joe.
Yeah, it was fun to see everybody drive and do this stuff. And then let me grab back up here. So a big thanks to the board members. I don't know if everybody realizes, lots of things you don't realize how much work goes into things because you just don't see the background, coordinating the food, the bouncy house, the load of sand, setting up the obstacles, all that different stuff. And then talking about the trophies and what gifts and how we run it and who's going to help. So we have a set of board members that some are new, some did it last year. But let me run through those names there. So Dustin Romero, Casey Guthrie, J.R. Sains, Rick Gray, Dan Hawk, Troy Hunt, Jesse Beza, Ken Anthony, Scooby, George P., Amber, and Joanne, and then it goes to the next page here, and then Ann Peterson for all her help behind the scenes with the t-shirts and trophies. The t-shirts were awesome. I think they looked cool with the may the 4th be with you.
I stole one for Bella.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah, she's such a Star Wars fan.
Right, good stuff. And then I think what was on the sleeve, it said Jedi. What was it?
Yeah, for the competitors, it said something like
Jedi something Masters or something like that. Anyway, it was a cute theme, and the board members came up with that. But I just from me and Dave and everybody from the rodeo, I guess, and everybody here, thanks to the board members. They spend a lot of time. They come in here in the afternoons, once a month.
A lot of late meetings.
A lot of late meetings. Yeah, you worked all day and you come in here and do that. So, fantastic, you guys. Thank you very much. It was awesome.
And those meetings, I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, they're on their own time.
They are, Dave.
It's totally,
volunteer.
just working to make the event come off and come off great.
Yep, absolutely. So thanks, you guys, from the bottom of our hearts. And then just want to go over, right quick here. How about the drivers? We had Damian Rubal, Jesus Varela, Steve Barnes, Todd Dole, Paul Chavez, Eric Burnham, Anthony Harper, Randy Martinez, Chili Dog, Rick Colleen. I always mess up his last name.
Colleen.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Vince Meekins, Jose Barraza, Fabio Plaza, Greg Wise and Gilbert Benny were all the participants. Great time watching everybody. Just fun on. You see the nerves and you see how everybody reacts having to back out of that alley and make that U-turn into the bend, and everybody thinks it's going to be easy, but it's a lot harder than what it looks, right? Super Dave, we watched a lot of people.
The fence on the property line made it harder,
right? Yeah, not to
Yeah.
hit the hood and
Yep.
that kind of stuff, and yeah, good stuff. So thank you everybody for participating and being there, and I think. Jam, you want to go over the prizes and stuff, or
I didn't know there was prizes.
well the
places?
Anthony Harper.
Oh
yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess the prizes were the trophies.
yeah, and
absolutely.
And bragging rights.
yeah,
Bragging rights.
and Anthony Harper, I believe that's 2 years in a row.
Yep. Anthony Harper had the first place for the course and was the overall winner for the second year in a row. He's actually the only one that's won first place in overall at any rodeo that we've had.
Oh,
Right? If you
yeah,
think about
yeah.
it. And then Dustin Romero Jr., the mechanic, took second place on the course,
He did really well.
which is impressive. And I think he's put in his application to Super Dave. He
Pretty
wants
much.
to be a driver.
Well,
He wants to get a CDL this fall.
He does,
Yep.
and I tried to help you, Super Dave. I told him, I said, there's one. I said, you can definitely become a driver. Obviously you did great. Congratulations. But I told him he had to find his replacement.
I told him that too. I said, we'd love to have you on board, out driving every day. But I said, you got to get somebody in there because Mikey's not going to let you go.
Right.
You're a pretty important dude in there.
He's got one other pretty big obstacle.
His age?
No, Dustin Sr.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dustin Sr.'s throwing some resistance.
really? To having him drive?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Huh, I'll have to ask Dustin. I hadn't heard that, Jim.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He told him.
He
not
told me
happening.
that too.
Dustin Jr. told you?
No,
Little
Dustin Senior did.
Yeah, doesn't want him to drive. Huh.
Yeah, he said, I'm trying to discourage him from getting a CDL. And I was like, why? Because mechanicking is so much harder on your body.
Yeah.
And if you want to make this a lifetime career, you can drive when you're 75 years old,
You can.
But you can't turn wrenches on big trucks when you're 75.
No. Yeah, and I have, and I don't know if it's, pertinent to this conversation, but I had some facts, and I don't know if you've seen it, Dave, want to kind of close with it, but in November of this year, FMCSA has 163,000 drivers that are on, let me see if I can find the correct word right here. Anyway, they've not passed their drug test, and they haven't initiated taking care of their drug test yet. I wish I had it highlighted in the clearinghouse. And
Yep,
in November
yep.
of this year, they'll make the states cancel their licenses.
Wow.
And there's 163,000 drivers on that list with the FMCSA. So, and I know we don't have that here, but across the country, another 163,000 drivers that may not be able to drive in November.
You would
wow.
think by now they're not driving legally anyway.
You
You would think everybody would be pretty much compliant with that. So who are these people, and are they going to just continue to drive?
Exactly. And how do they do that, Jim? I wish I had this kind of. So if these drivers do not begin the return to duty process, that's what they haven't done. Mm-hmm. So maybe they're in the clearinghouse, they failed, but they haven't begun the process. And maybe you're right. Maybe they're not driving right now, but they will never be able to drive.
Yeah, I think that the state, and I have no idea, but I think the state of Colorado cancels your license until you get into a return to duty, get into an SAP, and obviously you have to have a clean negative drug test to return to duty in the end anyway.
Absolutely, and I think that's what that is, Dave, is that in November, all states, federal government's making all states do that. I think that's where, like, Colorado maybe has been doing it right along. So, yeah, it's just something I wanted to throw out
Even
there.
Kevin and I, in our sometimes lengthy conversations on the phone, Kevin from Drug Techs, will have a driver, and it hasn't happened in over a year, probably two actually, when you get this consent email from the clearinghouse because of the pre-employment drug test. They have to consent to allow JFW to access their personal information in the clearinghouse, right? And the drivers don't know what it is, and they say no. And that immediately kicks them into this like really red area. And if they don't, like, I need to go to them and say, hey, buddy, you need to click the green box.
But you just screwed up.
Yeah, and they were like, oh, okay. But some guys have quit or been fired within the first couple days, stopped showing up, who knows, and they don't ever change that.
Looks
They
like a
will lose their
refusal.
license over that as well.
Well, that could be part of this too, Dave,
Yeah.
is people that just have not filled it out or completed it.
Yeah, they might have passed a drug test, or they did, obviously. They did pass a drug test, but they didn't give us consent.
Exactly,
Wow.
Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry we got off there, Jim.
You don't need to apologize to me.
To-
Let's apologize to Chili Dog because he took third place for the course.
Chili Dog. Good
Way to
job,
go.
Chili Dog.
Way to go, Chili Dog.
Yep. And then Damian Rubal, he took the pre and post trip winner trophy.
Oh, good job.
That's pretty
Damien.
good. And
Yeah.
Damian
He's
is
a new
fairly,
driver
he's fairly new around here,
with us anyway.
but he got it together. So very good. So let's talk about how what I wasn't at the rodeo because I had graduation that day, and I apologize for not being there, everybody. But tell me a little bit about the rodeo and how it went. And
Yeah, it was. I mean, again, this year I had fun. I know Super Dave told me that he didn't make it last year, and this year he was there and ran one of the stations there, the chicane, or they had a different name for it this year. Or I thought it was called the chicane. But anyway, we had quite a few contestants sign up, and not all of them showed up. We thought we'd have a little bit bigger turnout. And I guess I thought it was a wonderful event. I mean, I have so much fun. I think everybody there that has so much fun. But I guess what I would like to throw out is because we didn't have everybody show up that signed up, how do we build the participation? And is there something, we're about next week, I know the board of directors is going to have a meeting on what we can do better. I know there's one spot before just about the end, if you park on the plate, you win $100. Nobody's ever parked on the plate at this point. And as we watched all the contestants, we want to make it next year, for an example, into a bullseye on the ground.
Right.
So if you get in one ring, you get, $20. You get in the next ring, you get 50. You hit that center, you get $100.
Nice.
Make it so it's everybody wins a little something. It's fun, that kind of thing. I think there's some stuff that we could change. And I'm not sure that the committee is coming up with those changes or what we need to do. I have to say that I think the course is really difficult. I think it's a little bit discouraging to somebody that just doesn't do it right off the bat. I mean, it's like when you go to a job site, if you miss, you just
pull
start,
up.
you pull up. You just start over. Here you get one pull up or you time out. And that's a lot of pressure. And I guess I would really love to hear from the guys that didn't make it, that signed up, why, and could be personal reasons, whatever, but I would like to know why. Were you discouraged in some way? Did you think, why didn't you show up, period? I guess that's the whole thing to it.
They wouldn't know that it was too hard because they didn't show up.
No, and maybe it was the weather, because it was cold. Right. I mean, I was like, damn, it's cold. And then the clouds cleared off, and the afternoon was gorgeous when we picked up, right? And then, for the whole fleet here, what else could we do? Or has anybody heard anything, or anybody else? How do we get you guys to compete or make it a bigger event? We had lots of food left over. We had breakfast burritos. We had an ice cream truck. We had lunches in the afternoon. It was fun, and I would like to make it a bigger JFW event. I know that a lot of the guys ended up having to work, or some of the guys worked on Saturday, which to me kind of sucks because we got to work, right? And it's on a Saturday. I know we've talked about doing it on a Sunday, which takes away from their family time on a Sunday. So maybe we wouldn't get participation. Maybe we try to do it in the afternoon, where it's, we work till noon and then everybody can participate. We do noon to 5.
I think a month earlier we talked about too, where we're not as busy.
Yes, yeah,
We're
but
still kind
it
of.
was
Well,
it was
run into
colder
weather,
than
yeah.
Jim, right?
Because it was I mean, it was flat out freezing in the morning. And then even when the sun came out in the afternoon, that wind was cold.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a breeze,
Yeah.
right, Super Dave? And it's May. You know, next year it could be, 80 degrees almost.
Could be.
Yeah.
This has been a chilly spring, I think,
Yeah.
overall. It's
But
still snowing in the mountains, my God.
Yeah, well, yesterday when I, came back, it was snowing on Vail and Eisenhower.
They said the snow was coming in and out at the Wallstrom quarry,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
as it would blow over the hill.
Sure.
I'm sorry. I just don't understand how you sign up for something and then you don't come.
So no show.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't make it and you say, no, I don't want to compete or I'm not going to be there, okay, we understand that. But to sign up and not show up, I mean, that's extra food. That's, people made arrangements for you to be there. I mean, I think you should just show up if you sign up. Minus a family emergency.
Sure.
If somebody's dying, okay.
Exactly, Jim. And I guess that's because it was a fun event, you guys.
Sure.
I mean, the kids were having a blast in the sand. We hid eggs in the sand. We had a bouncy house,
Right.
all that kind of stuff. And I would like to hear from everybody. What's the no judgment. Let's just make it better. I'd like the third annual to be a bigger event and draw more people. What can we do? And the reason I want to hear about it is I want the committee to hear that, because they spend a lot of their own time putting this together. When you talk about not signing up or signing up and not showing up, that really hurts the committee.
Yeah.
Because they're passionate about this.
Sure.
And that's a bummer that didn't happen. So yeah, I mean, for such a great event, I would like to get some feedback. And I mean, do you mind if I ask them to email you, Jam, or email one of us?
I would email Dustin probably or
Yeah.
somebody on the committee. I don't mind. You could email me, but
Sure.
I'm gonna forward it to somebody on the committee. So
Okay. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Dustin's got a JFW email.
Dustin at jfwtrucking.com.
Yeah, can't get easier than that. Well,
If you are out of the country and you want to talk to Dustin,
there you go. Yeah,
Email
Dustin
him.
at jfwtrucking.com. Can't get any harder than that, right? So yeah, let's do that, you guys. Let's get some feedback. Email Dustin. I'll tell Dustin after the podcast that he might get some emails. But yeah, you guys, I want to make it a better event.
yeah, sounds like it was more organized than last year. With the sand and the bouncy castle, and it seems like it might have been more organized. So imagine next year.
That sand pile and the bouncy castle were just a huge hit.
Oh yeah.
I mean, those kids got out of their cars and came into the area there, and they headed straight for that sand pile. And I forget who it was. I was talking to somebody, and we looked at that and said, man, that bouncy house is going to go back with about a ton of sand inside of it.
Right, Super Dave?
funny.
Yeah, and I guess we've had him almost every year, I believe. I don't think we've missed a year, but
Ems.
But Andrew from M's, right? Ice cream. I mean, how you can't a bouncy house, sand, and ice cream?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you beat that? It was fun stuff. So
Good stuff.
Yeah, please. If you guys heard anything, you got any suggestions, you participated, and one of my other suggestions is I love how like Joanne got to drive, and a couple of the family members got to drive. And I know Steve's son. I don't know if he was on the list or not. Steve's son, he had to tease us that he could easily do it because he drives one of the best trucks in the world. I think he said. And we're like, oh, what kind of truck do you drive, or who you drive for? And he said he's got a Ford F-250 with a 7.3. Not Duramax. I can't do that with the 7.3, but. 7.3 Power stroke. Thank you, Super Dave. And we all kind of laughed to like, oh, you like throwing down the challenge here with your Ford comments. So.
That's funny. Did Steve Barnes' wife drive? I thought she drove. No,
I don't. If she did, I missed it. I know his son did. So I'd like to see a little more of that. But I think we have to do that. And we're going to go over that with the committee. I think we need some family member driving over here. I think we need to have the rodeo going here. And I would like to see, I don't know, if it just didn't take so long, some kind of warm-up, some kind of back warm-up. Or here's backing up. If you want to try that challenge, like we were talking earlier, Danielle, with practicals.
Yeah.
Where, okay, I want to try and back up, but then I want to also see if I can go through the chicane as such. Or I want to see if I can park on the money spot. and in the bullseye. And break it up, and hopefully we can talk with the committee and see if we can just change it up for next year. But we need feedback. Yeah. I'll quit harping on it.
I like it. All right, let's talk about. We got some notifications in regards to fair play. The speed limit over the old bridge on US 285 through town was reduced to 25 miles per hour the other day, and it's going to remain 25 miles an hour for a few weeks. The bridge is deteriorating, and this week the project contractor spent a day repairing it when a portion of the deck fell through, exposing rebar. That sounds terrible.
Sounds like they need to replace it.
Yeah. That set the contractor back. Instead of them being able to shift traffic to the new bridge next week, they're now targeting the last week of May.
That's good to hear.
Yep. Due to the poor condition of the old bridge, American Civil is restricting the speed to 25 miles an hour until such time as they can open up the new side. Here's the part you need to pay attention to. Officers will be monitoring the area heavily, and speeders will see double fines. So take it easy going through there. Just Cadillac through. Take it easy going over that bridge. You don't want to get a ticket, especially double fines. Sure, double points too. So.
Right. That is very true. I remember years ago, Doogie got a construction zone ticket, and the fine was, God, I want to say like $300, but he got like 6 points because they double the points as well.
Ouch.
Which hurts even more than the fine, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Hey, and what's not on this little note here, I just want to tell everybody, it was taken pretty seriously. I believe this was from the mayor of Fair Play, or one of the head guys at the city or the town there of Fair Play. But we got this notice from all of even mine and Dave's bosses. I mean, the big bosses sent emails, not complaining, just let's help civil engineering or American Civil out. They're trying to replace a rotten bridge. They, just like it says, they were going to move us over to the new part of the bridge, and the old part even broke more, rebar. And so just please slow down. We all know what it's like. You guys all drive. Slow down. Make it safe for American Civil. Save the bridge. Don't make the mayor mad up there. Don't have mine and Dave bosses call us and go, hey, you guys are speeding. Just do it right.
We don't need to make anybody mad on that run. I mean, the people going through Conifer, the police are out every day. Bailey is another one where the sheriff sits right next to that little firehouse down there.
Yeah.
And I mean, that they don't want the trucks up there, so let's make them not see us. Let's be transparent so they don't notice us.
Absolutely, Dave. We can. This is easy, but we got to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Want to talk about our training issues we were talking about before the podcast?
Yeah, just right quick, Jam. I mean, actually, it seems like whatever I say is not right quick. But
big old giggle from Danielle.
What time is it, Jim? No. Don't build a clock. Just tell me what time it is.
Danielle, how old? I shouldn't ask you that.
What? How old am I?
Yeah.
35.
Right quick. It's been 35 years for Danielle.
Yeah. I guess I could go more because I inherited the just a minute. It's real quick. And then 45 minutes later, I'm done with my story. So,
is it a curse or a blessing?
Oof. I don't know. Depends on, I guess, what company. At a bar, I'm good company. Yeah, restaurants, just chatting. But education-wise, I'm like, oh god, I gotta stick to my points here.
Get to the point.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's where we're going here because it's been, about grinding my gears, right, you guys? But I think this rolls up all into one thing, and I know we're trying. We got orientation, we got the classes with Kendrick and all that kind of stuff, and this is for the new guys or even the older drivers here, and by guys I mean the men and women we have working for us, our teammates here. But I really would like to throw it out there that we're paying attention to our trade, and we try to train you in the trade of truck driving the absolute best we can. We're trying to give you skills that you can take with you for a lifetime. And I guess in the training and stuff, we had an incident the other day where we had a driver leave and actually thought that he had a tire problem and mentioned that he thought the tire was giving the truck a vibration, and then we ended up ruining a fender, and it's because we had a valve malfunction, but he left the yard with the airbags down. And drove quite a ways, and I shouldn't say that. He didn't drive quite a ways. He just made it outside the shop, called, I think I got a problem. But I guess this is where the skills part of it and our training, we feel like we're failing you and you're failing us, is that truck should have never moved. You should have recognized that your airbags didn't air up. The truck isn't sitting right. And then you should have went maybe it was a truck at yard 23 over here, but you shouldn't make it down the street where you don't notice there's a vibration,
right.
There's something wrong with the truck. If the tires are rubbing on the fender, they're making a noise. Whereas, crack your window. When you first leave in the morning, put both windows down. It's going to be a little cold, but listen for the truck. Understand, and we preach it and we preach it. That truck is you, and you have to be one with that truck, as goofy as that might sound. But your eyes, your ears,
all your senses,
all of them, and in fact, not to get way off, but I came down Monday night or Monday afternoon down through from the western slope. Anyway, came over, was it outside the tunnels? Yeah, just outside the tunnels. And there's this truck just smoking, and I joked with Holly and Erica. I'm like, we got ourselves a smoker, and talk about all senses. I didn't want to pass the truck, but the smoke was so bad that we were smelling it and tasting it inside the car. And you guys all know what breaks. I mean,
it doesn't go away.
It does not go away, yeah. Super Dave. I had to go down the road farther, roll down all the windows, and try to just air it out. And I'm like, we were in Erica's Bronco, and I'm like, this will never leave your Bronco. For the next week, it's going to stink in here. And then the guy, because it was snowing up there was a lot of splash back off the road. I don't think the driver had a clue that the trailer was smoking because you couldn't see it. But I know that driver could smell it. And when we passed him, his elbow was on the door and the window was up, and he had no clue that what was going on. And in my knowledge, he was out of 50% of his brakes, as hot as they were. And I guess that's what I'm talking about, you guys, is we can do so much better. And the last example of that is, the check engine light on the trucks. A lot of guys just get in their trucks, they drive with the check engine light on. 99% of the time, if it's an amber light, right, that would be the orange light. You can drive with it. There's a lot of sensors on that truck that are doing things that don't mean anything to the truck, right? It doesn't bother your day. It doesn't do anything. Just keep trucking. We've advised you, if you have an amber light, just keep trucking, right, you guys?
An amber check engine light.
Amber check engine light. But if you think if there's an amber light and you think there's something wrong with the truck, call it in. You know what I mean? But also, if there's a red light, that's a problem. You need to stop. And the wrench shows up, right, you guys? But we had a driver call in the other day, hey, I have a check engine light on. That's how he called it into the shop.
Okay,
right, Jim? Okay.
Right.
Is that a red light? Is that an amber light or anything like that? Please just give some background to what's going on. Hey, I gotta. And the other thing is, I know I've had a driver call in. Oh, there's a light on the dash. The light on the dash. It looks like it's an open end wrench. Well, is it bummer? It's not a box end wrench. You know what I mean? That's not helpful, you guys. And I guess if you know your trade, you should recognize that the truck's not aired up. You should be able to communicate what kind of check engine light you have. You should be able to communicate, I've checked the truck out, it feels okay to me, or no, I think there's a loss of power, I'm not sure. Could you look on the computer? Is there an imminent D-rate approaching? A lot of times you'll call in the afternoon and you'll talk to the shop, and the shop will go, yep, it might be a D-rate, but it's in 4 hours, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, finish the day. It's that kind of thing. We're back to the same thing we talk about in the podcast is communication and being better at your trade and what you do. And that skill you take everywhere with you. Whatever you do, you take that skill with you. Even in your personal vehicle, any place else you're going to work, anything. Even you quit driving and go into the office. If you have a communication skills where you can tell somebody, hey, my computer's broke, or I need a pen, or something.
Right.
Simple as that. I don't know.
I don't remember the exact next call-in. I don't remember what it was, but I do remember you saying, well, who was that? And the answer was Chili Dog, and you were like, makes sense.
Absolutely, Jam. So we had 3 call-ins right in the morning as I was really paying attention to the radio, and the third one I did ask, who was that? And everybody goes Chili Dog, and I'm like, oh, that made sense because it was I'm
clear, concise.
Yeah, it was like I'm here, I'm loaded with sand. I'm making this part up.
Right.
I'm at 12, I'm loaded with sand, I have a low tire, it's maybe down to 50 pounds, I've checked it, I think I can make it over to the shop, what would you like me to do? All the information where Ricky in the shop could go, hey, yeah, if it sounds great, go ahead and bring it here.
Right.
Nope, don't move, Chili, we're going to fix it.
Yeah.
We'll have to come out there. So you're great piece, Jam, on that. To suggest that. So that's what we're after is the communication. We got to make ourselves better, you guys.
And just to get into some specifics with the TPMS system, if you get an alert on your dash saying, tire deviation or tire pressure critical, the first thing you should do is pull over somewhere safe and bump your tires. Don't call the shop and say, hey, I just had this code pop up on my dash. It says one of my tires is low, right? We're going to want to know, is it actually low or not? Those sensors fail all the time. We've talked about it enough on the radio and on the podcast where you should know, like, okay, let me find out if I actually have a low tire or not. And guess what? If you bump your tires and they're all fine, you don't even need to call the shop. You could just keep on trucking, ride it up tonight when you get in.
Absolutely, Jim. Be an advocate for yourself.
Yep.
That's all there is. And to go along with that, the new trucks aren't even coming with that system. We've discussed that because they went out of business. And then the last piece I just want to throw on here is I noticed recently we have a lot of lines and hoses dragging the deck plate. We had one of the new trucks that we put into service, and I'm 99% positive when we put that truck into service, none of the hoses were rubbing. But as the truck drove, made all its turns, dumped a couple times, got some miles on it, the hoses have moved, things have kind of fallen into place, and the hydraulic line, the brand new hydraulic line, was rubbing on the brand new deck plate, and I'm sure it was just rubbing the shit out of the brand new hose because that new deck plate's sharp.
Cheese
grater. Had nobody walking on it. So those are the things that I really need everybody to hone their skills, and especially now when we have guys filling in. It's going to be busy summer. We have guys taking taking some PTO, different things like that, and you're in different trucks. Check that truck out. Yep. And something else I want to throw out there. We have a lot of guys doubled up, which we're about to go through a whole shift change. We have 3 of the super dumps here that we're getting painted. We have 3 more coming in that will be, I think, are done this Friday. So there's 6 drivers that we're going to pull out of the rotation and start to put in trucks. So there won't be a lot of people doubled up. We've been putting the pressure on Super Dave. We like to be at least plus 10. We need to be plus 15. We're going to take 6 guys right out of that number and put in trucks. He's in panic mode right now, trying to hire people, and we've been planning for this. But back to that, we have a lot of people doubled up. You got 2 people on that truck. There should be nothing wrong with that truck. Nothing should be missed. Whether you're riding or not, and you're getting paid for it, you're still a driver. You're still the co-captain of that truck.
Yeah, let me piggyback on that. If you are the rider, technically you are assigned as a rider. That doesn't mean it's a vacation for you. You should add value to that truck, not just be somebody warming a seat in a jump seat.
You can't be a passenger princess?
Can't be a passenger princess.
That is how I live life. I had to drive today from Greeley, and let me tell you.
Tyler didn't bring you down?
No, I know. How rude.
Okay, that's good. So that's our new name, right? Nobody can be a passenger princess.
I like
Right.
it.
Right?
Yeah.
If you're riding in that seat, I mean, if you're in an airplane and you're co-captain, you're not a passenger
Yeah,
princess,
you don't just take a
Boy,
nap.
and that's the truth.
right?
Yeah.
Right, and that's what. So there should never be anything wrong with that truck. Jump out of that truck, kick the mud flaps. Brush the tailgate off for the driver.
Be helpful.
Be helpful. Switch drivers.
Yeah.
Everybody. I mean, it should be a fun day. It
Right.
should be a good day. You got somebody to chat with, and I know not everybody's personality mixes, but you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, not to say when you're in the jump seat you can't get on TikTok and Facebook and all those things. You're not driving.
No, you're not driving.
But there are things you could do to be helpful. So
Absolutely.
I used to clean the windows. I
Yes.
cleaned the mirror, clean the dash.
Yes,
I did all of those things
on
when
your
I
truck,
was
Jim?
on my truck.
3 years old, 4 years old.
Yeah, and also she was my PTO. She'd flip the PTO and run the trailer up, and why I was looking out the back window. Of
course.
Let's make sure we got that. So once in a while, though, before I pushed in the clutch, she'd start to flip the PTO on. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, Danielle,
yeah.
let me get
Calm down.
that. There was so, and
That's
once in
awesome.
a while, I wasn't slow enough, and you'd get that quick little grind before the before the PTO kicked in. But yeah, that was exactly why. Volunteer, help out, make it a team effort.
got two more things before we get to our special guest. One is attendance. I have been meeting with, any employee. So our attendance policy states you are allowed 6 unapproved days off in 1 year or 2 unapproved days off in 1 month. Okay. We're looking backwards 12 months. So just in the last 12 months, if you've had 6 or more unapproved days off, you are in violation of our attendance policy. We are just starting to send out notices about this, so you are aware of the policy. You did sign off on it when you were hired, but if you are approaching the 6 or past the 6, we are meeting with you. You will sign a document stating you're aware of the policy. Doesn't mean you're getting fired. It doesn't mean you're in big trouble, but it does mean you have been notified of the policy. So I met with a few drivers. I met with some other people in other departments. It really doesn't need to be a huge deal, but we do want you here working, outside of those 6 unapproved days off. So.
Yeah, Jim, I think I would have to throw out and, tell me if I'm wrong or right, or you don't get that, is talking with you after you've had the meetings. Most of the people aren't aware that they've missed that much. And that's more of what this meeting is to make everybody aware and have you re-sign that you're in violation. You need to be aware of that. And so many people, we get to that point and they don't even know about it. And that's what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, something I want to make a point of too, that doesn't mean that you're only allowed 6 missed days. You can plan ahead. You in your first year, if you have good attendance, you will actually accumulate 12 paid days off that don't count against you because they've been planned 7 days in advance. So, the attendance policy is actually a really good policy, especially when I talk to so many people that are coming from other companies and they're like, wow, you get that many paid days off? That's great.
Yeah.
You just have to plan them,
Yeah.
What kind of
I was just going to bring that up. That's more than I get as
Okay.
an unexcused absence. So we
What do you
get
guys?
written up at 5.
okay?
And that does go on our record. So 4 is your you get a warning. 5 you get written up, and 6 if we go past that, then you're
Bye
maybe not bye, but you then are tracked for a year. You are in probation for a year.
Yeah, we based the 6 on the school year, so I think kids are allowed to miss 6 days of school, and we just copied that.
Yeah, it was kind of a state guideline, right, for school. Yeah. And we thought, well, if the kids have to do that, we can certainly do that.
Yeah, but to your point, Jim, a lot of people, they'll be like, I don't think I was gone that long. And it's like, well, these are verified through emails and call outs and dispatch and Paycom, and everything's documented. And you weren't here these days.
So you're saying people are trying to shoot the messenger, Jam?
Not necessarily.
Shots fired when you give them a notice?
Over your bow.
Yeah, just like, oh no, I don't think I was gone that much. Well, here's the dates on the spreadsheet. You could look at them. So
Yeah, so many times with lots of that stuff, you go back and you look at them like, wow, I didn't know that.
Yep.
You know, on so many different items, you know, just don't realize it.
yeah, and some people have had rough years, you know, and we are still a family-ran business, and we do take in consideration, like, you know, family emergencies and, you know, things that are definitely out of the ordinary, you know, so.
Yeah, but it goes back to what Dad said, and it's just communication. I
Yep.
mean, that's a big piece of it. Is like maybe you can use some of your PTO days instead of calling out sick if you have something upcoming, if you have something going on. I mean,
Yeah. Exactly, Danielle.
yeah,
I agree.
communication.
Yep. And then last thing here from JR. Reminder to trainers or anyone going to a new pit they have not been to. You must stop and do a site-specific before getting loaded or doing anything inside that pit. This does extend to any passenger that may be riding along with us. So keep that in mind, guys.
That was a good one. I forgot about the passenger, Jim.
Yep. You guys got anything else before we move on to Danielle?
I think it's good pieces.
I was going to tell you about your communication thing. So, like in every field, even, and especially nursing, we do what's called an S-bar. So you could always implement this, but it's situation, background, assessment, recommendation. And that's kind of standardized communication across all medical fields, no matter what. It gets a little more specific when you get into like flight team and stuff like that. But basically, we have to communicate in that way because obviously what we do is critical, but I feel like it translates across all fields and all people. To give that, to say like, this is the situation, like what you said with Chili Dog. I mean, it's just like that making sure you're making those assessments and recommendations, and that I think also lends you to appearing more professional. And I think that goes a long way when you're talking about a business and a small business, because that's noticed, and that goes a long way. I work in a giant corporation and we still have to do that. And I just think that's important. So, you know.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I love it. So Danielle, you are a labor and delivery registered nurse.
That is correct.
How long have you been a nurse for?
So I've been a nurse for 9 years, close to 9, and labor and delivery for 8.
Okay. And what made you lean towards labor and delivery? How did that happen?
Honestly, so at the time it was hard to get a nursing job when I graduated nursing school.
Really?
Yeah, it's changed obviously so much in 10 years. But I applied everywhere that I could think of, and labor and delivery is one of them. I got offered a job in the ED, offered a job in, at the time we had like a psych nursing unit, and then labor and delivery. And I was like, okay, I think I'm going to try labor and delivery. And my mom actually was like, yeah, no, I definitely think that's where you belong. And then I just kind of fell into it. And then I was like, oh, this is exactly where I belong. I have seen 3 of my siblings be born.
Oh, wow.
And that was like pretty incredible. I also, for those of you that are 30-ish in that range, I used to watch TLC all the time when it was actually like the Learning Channel and science stuff. And they had a birthing story on there, and I used to watch it all the time.
Okay.
So I think I really was. I'm also super passionate about women's health. I always have been. And so I think it just clicked. Labor and delivery is also still like holistic medicine, I guess, which I really enjoy and I really like. You know, medicine can be very black and white. It can be very businessy in some ways. And birth is still one of those things that your body is designed to do, and it's beautiful and natural. And yeah.
That's interesting. Going through EMT school, like everything was kind of like, you know, the same. Like everyone has lungs, everybody has a brain, everybody has a heart.
Yeah.
Then we got to OB, and I was just like, what in the world is all this stuff? Like, you know, I'm not trying to be funny, but like the problems and the complications and all the things that could go wrong. And it's like, my mind was blown, and I was so intimidated by it. I ended up doing really well on the test because it was like, I had to know what, like, I had to learn what these things were. I wasn't going to pass. So very interesting. So in the 8 years you've been in L&D, how many babies have you delivered?
So, this was calculated by one of your number one fans, Tyler, my husband.
Of course.
So he is estimating 2,000 to 3,000.
Wow.
That's about 2 babies a week.
Wow, that's crazy.
So, yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. And some shifts, I mean, it would be a lot more, but I occasionally, once I became the charge nurse, I was a little bit less at the bedside. And so, yeah. But
So let me ask you this. So obviously most women, they have a doctor that's going to be there when the baby's born. How often are the doctors not there?
so the facility that I work at is in an area where there are a lot of refugees and a lot of women that come just from other countries and don't have access or resources. So they'll end up having like a lot of children, or culturally they believe in having a lot of children. So that happens faster. It really is true that the more you have, the more your body recognizes that you're in labor. So I shouldn't say it, but I will. I love accidental deliveries where I get to deliver. And that comes with time and experience and confidence. But it's rare. It's rare. They really do. I think it depends. Rural communities, obviously, when you live 2 hours from the little critical access hospital, like in Sterling and Ogallala and those places, I'm sure it happens a lot more because the docs are not in hospital. The facility that I had worked at or work at now has doctors on the floors all the time. So
Gotcha.
not that often, but you'll hear on the internet lots of
I
stories.
got to
from
ask
people
Danielle, isn't it just like when you go to the dentist? The hygienist is working on you for an hour and the dentist comes in for 5 minutes and you're done. Are you there all the time and the doctor comes in for 5 minutes, delivers the baby, and then he's gone?
Correct. Yeah.
It's like you do all the work.
That's funny.
Yes.
Have
But they don't take the credit, which is nice. Like people
That's good.
recognize,
That's
you know what
really
I mean?
good.
Like women realize that they've bonded with you for 12 hours and that the doctor was there for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting. Have you
And
ever
they make the
delivered a
big
baby?
money.
Yeah.
Have you ever delivered a baby outside of the hospital?
Very close parking lot. They made it to the parking lot.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Huh.
That
What is your most memorable delivery?
So I thought about this for a very long time. Honestly, the saddest are probably my most memorable or the most difficult. And I didn't want to focus on that.
Sure.
But those are the patients that take a piece of you. And I willingly give that, especially in the case of, fetal demise and stuff like that. Those are so difficult, and those patients remember you forever. I have had people come back and deliver, we call them rainbow babies, when you suffer a loss and then you get your next delivery.
Nice.
And they have come back and delivered after that loss, and they're like, request you. And that's such an honor to know that you were able to provide peace in that situation. But delivering my friends and colleagues has also been like the most fun, I think, because that speaks volumes about your care, that someone who does your job is willing to let you participate in that, which is hard. It's like I get most nervous when I deliver people who are in the medical field.
Sure.
But one of my really, really good friends, she actually even didn't deliver at our hospital, but she asked me to come and support her. And her husband is a nurse in the ICU. She is a labor delivery nurse that I work with.
Wow.
And so I had planned to go and be with her. And she was getting induced. And I came and I started working with her, and we did all these moves, all these things. Because again, she's a labor and delivery nurse, and she's like, I'm getting this done. That's her 4th baby. And they never have ever known the gender with any of their children. And they had 3 daughters. So her husband is there. I'm working with her, and they're called hip squeezes, which it is exactly what it sounds like. But your pelvis is going through so much change as a baby is going through the birth canal. And I'm squeezing her hips. And all of a sudden I think that I popped her hip, and I'm freaked out. And then both of our feet are soaked and her water broke.
Oh my God.
And then she delivered, 18 minutes later.
Wow.
And her husband was like, God, we just had to wait for you to show up to the party. And they ended up having a little boy.
Nice.
And so it was so much fun to be there, be part of that surprise, get to love on them and take care of them. And she's just so convinced. She was like, the baby waited for you. That was we were doing this all day, and you show up and I give birth. So that's probably one of my favorites.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What kind of person should work in your field, in labor and delivery?
So I think nursing in general, and don't you guys have a driver who was a nurse before? Or did you?
No, I mean off the top of my head, just because we've mentioned him or he's been in our conversations, is Rob Curley. He was an EMT.
He is.
And then before he drove,
Right.
drove and then went back. So
Yep.
he would be one that I would think
Yeah.
of. I don't know of anybody else. Do you,
And I-
Super Dave? Or-
No, we have some gals that I don't know if any of
Oh.
them that are here now, but they've been like I don't
caretakers.
or
What about
what's-
Bree?
CNA.
Bree, yeah.
CNA, yes, that's right,
Okay,
Danielle.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think I just asked because I feel like if they wanted to weigh in, but I feel like you have to have a very strong sense of like meeting people where they're at. Whether it's a positive reason that you're in the hospital or a difficult or negative reason, people come in the door with all sorts of life experiences and emotions and all the things. And you have to be able to connect with someone and meet them where they're at. I mean, it's like if you're terrified, you can't hear, right? Like you can't think straight. And so I have to come in and be like, hey, what can I do to make you less scared?
Sure.
And then I have people that are overjoyed and are like, I'm going to freaking do this. I'm going to boss this out. And maybe I have two patients that are totally in opposite spaces and I have to go room to room and I have to change according to what the situation is.
Sure.
And emotionally be able to emotionally connect. And I think that's all areas of nursing, but I think that makes you a strong nurse. I think the other thing is you have to be willing to coach. Labor and delivery, you have to coach somebody through it. It is such a mind-body experience. You're bringing life into the world. There are two people that you're taking care of, so you have to be able to coach. I'm also a big advocate. Like I said, medicine sometimes has its rules and has old rules. I mean, it sounds crazy, but women's medicine has only started to make advances since the 70s. We didn't even fully map the Women's Pleasure Center, I'll just say that, until recently, which is crazy. I mean, our organs were just like, whatever. And I just think that's crazy. So there are some practices that I am not a fan of, that are not evidence-based, that are not based in research, and I'm huge on that. And so to be there and say, like, she doesn't want that is a big thing for me. Or to have patients, I can say, this is your rodeo. This is your experience. This is everything that you maybe didn't envision is now happening to you. What can I do to bring your vision of what labor was going to be like back? So that advocacy piece, you have to be willing to get messy. I think my dad has seen. I've sent pictures of, bad deliveries or things that have happened where I'm covered in blood. I have been thrown up on more times than I can count.
There's always that poop piece.
Yeah. Yeah. The poop piece. Which none of it bothers me, but that's like a no-go for a lot of people. I mean, there are just people who are like that. I could never. And I'm like, well, that's just, it is what it is, And I think truly believing in women, there's still this concept that women are not listened to. Women of other ethnicities, women of other cultures, Black women are like, I'm going to rough the statistic, but they're like 50% more likely to suffer some sort of emergency because no one listened to them.
Wow.
And that's just huge. That's a huge piece. And in healthcare in general, I feel like we need to make a switch. We need to do a better job at listening to patients and trusting them to really get somewhere. And so I think those are the big traits.
Wow. I heard a weird, or not interesting, but surprising statistic that pregnant women are more likely to be physically abused.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's considered like a stress trigger. So women who are in abusive relationships to begin with, and maybe it's not physical at the time or physical and it stops, but that just becomes a trigger, and we don't fully understand.
That's
but
crazy.
it's a stress or a trigger, and those women are more likely to suffer miscarriages,
Sure.
early deliveries, preterm delivery, just because of stress alone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is labor and delivery dominated by women, or is there a fair share of men that do that?
Yeah. So as far as nursing is concerned, I think nursing in general, I think we're like 85% female still, like the whole nursing field. Obviously labor and delivery would lend itself to that easily just because women will listen to women.
Right.
So a lot of nurses will hire women. We've had a couple of men over the years and they were wonderful. So I think that doesn't matter. For me, the physicians, there's a big swing in female physicians. Right now, our residency program, which is doctors who are in training, the whole class is female. And that's the first time I've ever seen that.
Interesting.
So, which I think is great. To me, just as a caveat, I just don't think that gender matters as long as respect is at the center of care.
Absolutely.
And center of the relationship. So for me, I have a male doctor, like personally, he also was one of our residents and I worked with him. So he is amazing and has helped so much through all of my personal health issues. And I would trust him with anything. Wow. And I think that's because of that mutual respect and listening. He's caught a lot of things in my personal health just by listening and trusting that I thought something was wrong, which unfortunately it really was wrong, but he's caught a lot of things. And I think culture drives this, like where I work. There's a lot of women who have suffered assaults who religiously would prefer females. So just specifically the facility I work at, like I talked about with the migrant population and immigration, those women prefer females, and so we hire to that standard.
Gotcha. Yeah, I do think I've seen an increase in male nurses. Just when I did my practical at Longs Peak, there was quite a few male nurses. And, I know a couple people that are currently EMTs. They want to become nurses, and it's kind of the next step up for them financially, anyway, career-wise.
Yeah.
So,
like I said, I think it's great. I would have no objection to having a male nurse. So,
what percentage of deliveries are normal versus ones with complications?
So I looked this up, and in 2022, 11% of deliveries require instrumentation, so assistance through some sort of device.
So not necessarily like baby in distress, but just not completely normal.
Right, and 19% are emergency C-sections.
Wow.
So, there's a national standard. Let's see here, in 2022, the number of vaginal deliveries was 2,486,963. The number of C-sections was 1,178,066. So 32.1% are delivered via C-section. And we don't know, if I relate those two statistics, basically like 19% of the 32% perhaps were emergencies. So.
Huh. What's a common emergency you see?
Honestly, it's kind of after, which is postpartum hemorrhage.
For the mom.
Yeah, for the mom.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, which I see a lot of that. We deliver more high risk patients. Where I work, we deliver earlier. And there's a lot of things that play into that. I've had patients who have had seizures. So health disparities where I work are very high. We have a lot of people with diabetes. We have a lot of obesity. Obesity plays a big part in postpartum hemorrhage, as well as, any other complications when you come in with hypertension. You're already at risk for many other things. And then if we have to treat you with medications to treat the hypertension, that increases your risk for bleeding after deliveries.
Sure.
So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. But I would say that's probably our biggest emergency. But we have a lot of really sick patients and patients that never received care outside of having a baby. And so it's really interesting. We try to treat them coming to the hospital to deliver these women who have never thought of themselves, but they're there because of their baby.
Sure.
And so we try to catch them and say like, okay, it's great. This is the first time we've had you in clinic. We want you to come back even after your baby so that you're able to be around and take care of your baby as they grow.
I love that.
Point of contact.
Do you see a lot of moms with drug use?
We do.
You?
Yeah. That kind of plays into other stuff that I was going to talk about, which is so the admission rate to the ICU, also what you were asking, was 1.8 in 1,000. So that's a 0.1% admission rate to the ICU. So that's really good, right? So that's women that are really, really sick. ICU admissions are higher for people who are non-white, which I talked about before. And ICU admissions increase with age and increase with the number of deliveries, which I told you was really high. But actually in 2023, there's a new initiative because suicide is the leading cause of death for pregnant and postpartum people.
Wow.
Suicide, huh?
Suicide.
Wow. I didn't know that.
And the second highest thing is ODing. So overdose.
Oh, well, there's your drug question, right,
Right.
Kim? Yeah.
Yeah. So and those combined are almost more than cardiovascular disease, like any other pregnancy complications that we see. Those are above and beyond in combination. Like they're almost double what the other things are. So a lot of it is like what you talked about. The abuse stuff. We see a lot of people who come with no resources, who are culturally at a disadvantage because of how their society functions. And so we see so many people that struggle with mental health and with drug abuse. So many.
That's sad.
Yeah.
What is your biggest piece of advice for pregnant women?
So I think that all women, regardless of whether you're pregnant or not, should be educated by reliable sources. It sounds really funny, but when our parents were having kids, everybody took classes, everybody took Lamaze.
Right.
And that has gone such to the wayside, which is crazy because we have so much access to information, and good and bad, right? Like, I don't want you to go on TikTok and learn your classes. There's a lot of information, and that's an echo chamber. So when you go somewhere that an algorithm is deciding what you're looking at and you hear only bad things, you're only going to hear bad things about the medical field. So
Sure.
I think get on your computer, go to Google Scholar, which literally you just type in Google Scholar, but you can look at .orgs, .edus, things like that are going to be reliable education sources. There are amazing classes that are available online that you can take that tells you about emergencies, but also tells you about ways that you can control the situation. Which is great. I think the more knowledge is power. I've always believed that. And when you have knowledge and you're able to make decisions about your healthcare, everything just gets better because you then have taken back the power. Also trust your gut and make people listen. I have had more moms who have said, I think something is wrong. I think something is wrong. And because I've listened, we have prevented catastrophes. Sure. I mean, there have been miraculous outcomes just by me going like, she says something's wrong and I think we got to follow this. Like, we have to follow this down the line. I think there's this intuition, and whatever you believe in, there's an intuitive property to moms. There has to be, that you're listening to your baby. They're inside your body. And so I think that's a pretty incredible connection that happens. And I want people to lean into that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, let me keep going here for a second. What in general, what's the hospital culture at Banner like?
So I think overall it's really good. I will say every hospital has its things and every system has a thing. I think I've worked for UC Health as well, so they do a great job, and obviously their advertising is like thebomb.com. So that's pretty amazing. My company is really out of Arizona. They have their biggest and largest facilities out of Arizona, that corporate area. And they are like the UC Health of Arizona. So it's just so interesting. Some of it is
Different
demographic,
states.
just like Kaiser is California. You know what I mean? They are, even though we have Kaiser here, that is their bread and butter out there. So I think every organization has its issues. I think the bigger you are, the harder it is. As a corporation, in Arizona alone, I think they have, my boss gave me the statistics, I think it was like 35,000 employees just in Banner alone, just in Arizona. And they have 6 other states with other facilities in them. So it's pretty crazy. I think healthcare has challenges because medicine and business shouldn't mix. However, these are businesses. So I'm trying to make decisions that are totally based on not profit, right? Like, I'm looking at this patient thinking, what can I give you? What resources can happen? How do I take the best care of you? But in the back and in the background, there are all these people going, how do we make healthcare affordable? How do we do more with less? And I think that's such a challenge because that's not reasonable. Sometimes it comes out to staffing, which is, oh, it's fine. You can take care of 3 patients. Well, no, I can't. Not when you want me to give the best care possible. So there's a lot of things. I have done a lot of things with culture, just trying to do what you guys do here, which is kind of in my way, it's more grassroots. I was on the floor. I was working side by side with my colleagues. How do we make this better? How do we make things safer? How do we develop checklists? So if there was, I used to use like the robots quote. If you've never watched Robots, there's this whole idea that it's see a need, fill a need. That was their motto in the movie.
Sure.
And I very much use that on the floor. If you see a need for something, what do you want to do to make it better? I also, as a charge nurse, really had the rule, like, if you're going to complain about it, you need to come up with a solution for it. So,
never heard that before.
Just because that changes the culture from a grassroots perspective, I think companies that are very, very, very large, they can try to impact locally, but it's very difficult. There's been a big shift for our mental health, especially since COVID. That's been huge. So, and I think that was good. That was something positive that came out of COVID is they said like, okay, our healthcare people they're burnt out, like they're struggling. So we've got a lot of healthcare resources that have changed and been a focus on mental health. Our mental health benefits actually increased, which I think was huge. They offer it's called EAP, an employee assistance program, and they have counselors on site now and different stuff like that. We also have peers that you can take a class or take a course that they've provided to become a peer assistant. So something happens that's critical, or a patient who has a bad outcome, you can step off the floor and have that mentoring experience. And I think those are great things that they've instituted to make it better for us.
What are you seeing in the workforce in the industry? Like getting qualified people or good people to work, or you know, is there a shortage of nurses now? I know you said it used to be hard to get a job as a nurse, and there's been a shift. What's been the difference? So
many people left the bedside during COVID and post-COVID. Yeah. I think it forever changed the face of healthcare. It's so interesting, and I think we see it across, and it's a generational thing. I joke with my dad all the time that I don't really match my millennial persona. We all see those jokes on the internet, how things have changed and the generations have changed. But this new Gen Z, Gen Alpha crew, there's such a drive that there's a focus on them, which is so different, right? Like I'm such a martyr and not saying that that's a good thing, but I used to work 5 shifts, a week, when I'm only required to work 3. There was so much when we were short. I would work
those 12-hour shifts.
16s sometimes. That's what I was just about to say.
Sorry.
No. Sometimes 16 hours, but 5-12s a week. If we didn't have coverage, I would just stay and work 16 hours. And that's legally, that's the max that you can work, and is 16 hours. So, I think that there's been this shift in the workforce of what can you do for me? And that's so interesting. I don't love it. But I've also, been on the leadership side of things. Now I'm in my education role. But how do we meet that? How do we find that balance for nurses where you are being respected, you are being taken care of, you are able to have work-life balance, but how do we do that in a safe and effective way where hospitals can be staffed and patients can be taken care of? And the thing is happy nurses make happy patients. And I believe that firmly. And I think we're getting there with the mental health stuff. We're getting there with the EAP stuff. California does a lot of things where nurses only work 8-hour shifts. There's places where they get really long breaks. They have unions, and I'm not saying I'm a fan of unions, but it is interesting where we're headed. And I think I don't know the answers. I would love to come up with solutions. I think there's things that we could do to make nursing more desirable. And some of that is realizing that there has to be a work-life balance. It took me a long time this year to say that I work as a nurse. I am not a nurse. That is not my only, it was really hard for me to step away from the persona of that is what I am, is a nurse.
You attach your identity to that.
Yeah. I couldn't take that hat off. I just couldn't. And that was one of the reasons that I kind of stepped away from the bedside along with health stuff. But I think that's why a lot of nurses left, is that you couldn't get away from it. You couldn't step out of your shoes and just take a break. It followed you home, So
If you could wave a magic wand and change anything in healthcare, what would it be?
Honestly, I think insurance companies. I don't know. I think insurance is horrible. I hate it. I hate that people can't receive care. And some of that is just money, right? I said like business and medicine don't mix. They really, really don't. But how do you do that? It is a business. As much as not-for-profits say they're not-for-profit, they are. There's some things that happen,
Somebody's getting paid.
Yeah. And I think realistic cost analysis, I think that everything should be public. I really do. I think CEO salaries should be published. Cost of staffing should be published. Cost of equipment should be public. I think people should know where their money is going. I also think that hospitals should have to show how much their payer mix is. I think that gets really confusing. People think, so like at my facility, we don't have shiny brand new things, but 80% of our patients, or maybe even 90% of our patients, are Medicare and Medicaid. So because I live in such an area that requires a low socioeconomic status, that's just what we have, and we're expected to do the same thing as like, say, a hospital in Colorado Springs or a hospital, some of the hospitals in Denver,
MCR, like Loveland or...
Yeah, exactly. And we don't serve the same kind of people. And I think that would make people realize like what's going on, or maybe that's a hospital that deserves public support or public assistance versus a hospital. Right. But that's hard. That gets into like, the things you guys talk about sometimes, which is the
politics.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. I'm probably going to change this question, and you may have already answered it, but any advice for women? I said in the trucking industry, but you already corrected me on that, like women in general, in regards to women's health, and I feel like you've already answered that.
Yeah, I mean, I looked some stuff up. For truck drivers, they're twice as likely to be obese compared to other U.S. workers, which is really crazy. I get it. It's a job that sits. That puts you at risk for cardiovascular disease, hypertension, sleep apnea, diabetes, and increased cholesterol. However, with that, also 1/3 of drivers, it was hard to find not long haul statistics. There's a lot of stuff is focused on long haul, but 32.3% of drivers smoke. But 48% of those people have attempted quitting. So, and I think there is a lot of resources out there, but that is like, a number one health concern. If you sit and you smoke, you will have cardiovascular complications. You will suffer something.
So the thing is, we're sitting for a long, long time, right? All day long.
Right.
So you either sit and smoke or you sit and eat.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But I did, and this is for everybody. I mean, we all know. I myself have struggled with my weight for years, up and down, for a long time. And I wish, my addict part of me, that's food. I love food. We talk about this all the time.
We do.
We celebrate with food. You heal with food. And that's
take care of nerves when you're food.
Yeah. It's really difficult. But that was like the number one tip is like pack your lunch. Don't stop at the places. Same with nurses, right? And everybody loves to bring us snacks. Everybody loves to thank you with food. Like crumble cookies, that's like the hot item. There's never not crumble cookies on the unit. So, but I always pack my lunch. So that's like the one thing I can control. Hydration is a big one that was mentioned, which I didn't think about it. A lot of truck drivers don't like to drink water because you have to stop. Pee. Yeah, you got to stop and pee. So
hopefully,
I guess if there's a way that you can stop or let it be realistic, hydration was one of the top tips. The other one that's pretty interesting is the recommendation from multiple websites was that truck drivers don't necessarily get enough sleep. That you should get an average of 7 hours in order to be the most mentally focused to drive, which I thought was interesting. That 7 hours of sleep, decreasing your stress. But there are tons of wellness programs, screenings. I think you've talked about that before, that there's lots of free stuff. For most insurances that I know of, like your wellness exam is almost covered under every insurance I've ever seen.
Ours is.
Yeah. So like if you could do that.
Just don't ask any questions. It's free until you ask something out of the ordinary. Then it's like, oh, did you ask me a question? I'm going to bill you for that.
But female drivers, are more likely to suffer migraines. 85% of women suffer migraines, which is a large statistic over men. And they relate it to job stress, anxiety, hormones, which men don't have. We have a 28-day cycle. You guys have a 1-day cycle. You have your hormones change once a day. Ours change every 28 days. We go through many, many things.
Does that change for the men? Does that just change like when you wake up?
Yep.
Is that the change?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you will cycle through your hormone process once a day.
Gotcha.
Women are 5 to 8 times more likely to have thyroid issue, which impacts obesity.
Sure.
But it's easily treated. So if you haven't gone for your wellness exam, they'll check your thyroid if you struggle with that. But yeah, 5 to 8 times more likely when you could get that treated so that you don't suffer other things. Women are more likely to have joint pain. Knee pain was like the number one thing that truck drivers will complain of or have issues with, is knee pain, which I thought was interesting. But women, because we have wider hip bones and because of estrogen changes as we age, you will have more damage to your knees than men. Breast and cervical cancer are one of the top health concerns for women truck drivers. Just it's a health concern for women, but also truck drivers in general were less likely to seek healthcare because of access. So they don't have necessarily days off, or they don't have the same hours. Like the hours that they work are the hours that clinics are open.
Sure.
So use one of your PTO days and go do your wellness exam.
Let me just jump in right there. Sorry to interrupt. Or what we have people do here is they make their nice appointments and they just meet right here at the office. And we will never tell you that you cannot do that. We encourage you to take a break during the day, come to this office, meet with somebody here, and then get back to trucking right after. I mean, it's a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times those telehealth visits, they can still order your labs, and then you go get labs like whenever you can, and then they'll call you and do another telehealth appointment to review those with you.
Sure.
So that you can fix those things, your cholesterol, all that kind of stuff that can protect you and keep you trucking and keep you with your families. It's important to get screened and advocate for yourself. I think that's huge. Another thing I looked up, which was really fun, it kept coming up, is the Women in Trucking Association. They have all these conferences, which they talk about women's health, but they also talk about leadership and all these things. There's a conference in Texas this year, November 10th through the 13th. It's like a 4-day conference, and it's all about how to get more women. Women are on the rise. It's like it went from, I think, 8.5 to 10.5 or something like that in the last couple of years, women in trucking.
Nice.
So we're seeing a change in that. They're recruiting more. It's an opportunity like here where you can be home with your families. So seeking out organizations like JFW where you can work and your kids are in school, and then you can go home and be with your family and make a really good living. And I think that's huge because, like the girls I work with, they sometimes won't see their kids for 3 days. They leave at 5, 6 in the morning, don't get back until 7, 8 at night. The kids are in bed. They don't see their kids. So, I think there's opportunities within these kinds of organizations that you're making a really good living and still able to have a family.
You said you are a big advocate for mental health. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So because of all the changes I've seen over the years, and me personally, COVID did a number, I think, on everybody. There are so many resources. I think NICE probably has all of the mental health resources. There's so much telehealth, and most insurances, and I believe Cigna does too, they cover a certain amount of mental health visits. So many of those can be online. Through my work, we have Mindful, I think, is the app. There's so many apps that you can download that do meditation, stuff before bed, progressive relaxation. And I think that's huge. I personally did not get the driving gene. My dad can attest to that.
Grilly was too much.
Yeah, Grilly was too much. Maybe I was too spoiled by you. I rode around with you for too long.
You were my princess.
Yes,
Still are.
I chose not to drive a lot. I didn't even want to get my license. So I don't know. But I kind of lost my track of where I was going with that. But there's just so many resources, and I find driving stressful. That's where I was going. That you guys are out there battling all day long in the traffic. You know, I feel like it was a battle to get down here. I joked with Dad. I'm like, I can't remember the last time I was on 270, and I left my house so early so that I could make sure to get here and participate in the podcast. And I was like, gosh, I can't remember the last time I've sat in traffic. And, you know, I'm lucky I live in northern Colorado where there's just less traffic. But you guys are dealing with that all day and how stressful that is. And how do you unwind? How do you relax? How do you put your driver hat away? Just like with nurses, I think it's hard sometimes to leave that at home or to not stress. And I think you guys have done such a great job with the podcast and with the resources and everything that's offered here. And I'm not like plugging my dad. I really believe that. We've talked so much over the years. He's seen me struggle with my career. And the thing is I love it. I absolutely love it. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't wear on me or that it doesn't make it difficult. That's the caveat of having a job, right? We work so hard. And how do you put that hat away and transition?
Especially if you're passionate about it.
Yeah.
You know, if you love what you do, like you said you do, like, you know, there could be problems and you love it, but it's beating you up at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure. And the comments you made when you go home, how do you unwind? And, you know, it pops in my head when you talk about food or alcohol or other means. How are you unwinding at the end of the day?
Right.
Again, for me, it has been food.
Right.
You know, I go home and that's how I unwind, and that's not healthy.
Yeah. Which goes back to my point. And again, this is like everybody tells you this, and I'm not telling everybody you need to lose weight. 30 minutes of exercise can decrease your risk by 27% of cardiovascular complications. Just 30 minutes of exercise.
Go walk for 30 minutes. Plus, it does wonders for your mental health. And
yeah.
If you know about mental health, you know about EMDR.
Yeah.
Right? Like the switch in the brain. Yeah. When you walk, you're actually doing that. I mean, you're going right, left the whole time.
Right.
Throw on some music, go for a walk, and it'll help you physically and mentally.
Yeah. Or a podcast if you love that, or
Challenge
those mindful app, the mindfulness app, all that stuff. I mean, yeah, just finding a way to unwind and be the better version of you and ask for help. That's the biggest thing I think that people don't do. And that's why I think it's so important. Like I said, those wellness exams, those little catches, it's been life-changing for me. I mean, crazy things have happened over the past few years, I think. I was diagnosed with cancer, the end of 23, end of 22, which was crazy. But one of the things that I was so blessed is the Cancer Center offers all of these resources. And they were like, we'll get you in with a counselor. And they tapped that resource right away, and things like spilled out that I didn't even realize, was going on. Things left over from work, things left over from COVID, all because of that. And I got so connected and was able to continue, with therapy even after. Luckily, I'm in a watch and wait, hang out. I'm healthy. Things are great. So thankful for that. But just getting plugged in, and I feel so blessed to those resources, and then being able to continue with that and make sure that I'm mentally healthy. I think it's helped so much. They encouraged a change in my job, which I ended up doing, which is crazy, just to step away from the bedside and take care of my health.
Sure.
And that was game changing. I've joined a gym. I work out like 4 to 5 days a week, which I did not think was going to happen. And all of that was just from really getting plugged in with counseling.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
In my short experience, like dealing on the inside with the medical people, like I could tell what type of person you are. There's been people I've ran across, like in the emergency department at Longs Peak.
Yeah.
I was disappointed, honestly.
Yeah.
I was pretty disappointed in the attitude behind the scenes about sick people. It's like, you guys are nurses in an emergency department. Sick people are coming.
Right.
You can't be annoyed by that, or I guess you can be, but
right.
I mean, why be in that industry if you don't really want to deal with sick people? You know, like it was like rolling the eyes, and so I ran across people that I really like. If I was in trouble, like paramedics and EMTs, where I'm like, if I was hurt, I'd want these two right here to come.
Yeah.
Or even students, like I could tell this student really cares. And if I was sick, I would be comfortable with him or her showing up to take care of me. Then I met people where it's like, I don't want them showing up, or I wouldn't want to come to this emergency department. Yeah. And I could just tell from the short time on the podcast which type of person you are. If I was about to go into labor and delivery, I would want you at my bedside.
Yeah. But
So-
I think that goes back to the happy nurses make happy patients.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. They need to hear that.
And it's easy to get burnt out. I think the emergency department, there's a struggle because we do have such health disparities here, or we have disparities like drugs and alcohol, and they see those patients.
Or the regulars.
Yes.
Like, oh, okay, so you know, because the thing with, and you could tell me the name of it, but hospitals are not allowed to refuse care to anybody. Is it?
EMTALA.
EMTALA, right?
Yeah.
You show up at a hospital, you got to get seen. It may take you 5 hours,
Right.
but they cannot refuse care. And you probably won't pay the bill if you're going to the emergency department because you stub your toe, you're probably not going to pay that bill.
Right.
Right. So I get it. They see that over and over. Okay, what's wrong with John this week? You know.
Yeah.
But to treat him or her the same way every single time,
Right.
that's the job. You know, I compare it to a mechanic that doesn't want to fix a broken truck.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah,
right.
no, that's
Like,
totally true. That's totally true. And I would challenge those people. You need to step away. You need to figure out, is this for you? Do you need to change specialties? I mean, there's almost no other field where you can change the type of nursing at a whim.
Sure.
You know,
That makes
like
sense.
tomorrow I could decide I want to be an ER nurse. Tomorrow I want to work in the ICU. How lucky. I mean, that's what I tell people. I'm like, if this isn't for you, go try something different and maybe you'll come back. I mean, we've had people who went to the emergency department there for a couple of years and they came back and they're like, man, there's nothing like delivering a baby. And I'm like, yeah, it's like a high unlike any other. It is, to watch a person take their first breath is incredible, you know? And after, I don't know if you talked about it at all, but I took care of my grandma when she passed away, and it was such an honor for me, and it was such a blessing to be able to spend her last days with her. And hospice is such an incredible thing that those nurses do. And I could see myself doing that. As hard as it is, there is something about helping someone transition into that next part of their life, you know, or the end of their life, to walk that path with someone until it's time. That's beautiful. And, you know, it's just incredible. So I would challenge those nurses or challenge those techs, look for something else, you know, look to go elsewhere. There are people who are adrenaline junkies. I think I'm one of them. I love when stuff goes wrong, because I catastrophize every situation. I don't know if that's a word, but
well, you fix. You're the problem solver.
Yeah,
You don't make it a catastrophe. You fix their catastrophe.
When I train, it sounds really bad, but I always tell them, I want you to think this mom is going to die and this baby's going to die, and what are you going to do? Every delivery, no matter how benign it comes in, you know. And if I was working with, you know, trucks, I want you to imagine, what is the worst case scenario? What happens if your brakes fail? You know, what happens if this fails? I've always trained that way. Always is like, what is the worst case scenario, and what are the steps I take to prevent it? And so, you know, people, I tend to come off, I guess, as a hard ass when I'm orienting people and when I'm training, because that's what I want you to know. But that training kicks in. I mean, that's the whole point of why we practice and why we train and why we repeat things over and over and over again, is so that it's muscle memory. You know, I did the flight team for a while as well, which was is still probably my favorite thing I've ever done with my career. If I were to go do something else, I would try to find a job in the high risk OB flight team, because they are so regimented. They are so skilled. The expectation and the risk is so high there, but communication is on point. I mean, if you have ever watched a team, if you've ever received medical care where things are happening around you or your family member and nobody's really talking, but everything is getting done, that's so elite. That's so incredible to watch. And that comes from teamwork, practice, respect, communication. And like Dada said, those are all relatable skills. And I love that, you know, and they're funny. A lot of people are ex-military in there. And that's so incredible too, to receive those people who have put their life on the line, and then they've come and they've decided to continue to try to save lives, but in a different way. Right.
Sure.
And, you know, they use their sniper trainings, you know, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. That's one of my favorite things when I work with people and they're like, why do you say that all the time? And I'm like, because, you know, slow down, take a deep breath. You guys talk about pull forward, stop, roll your windows down, listen. Those are all the same skills that we would use in nursing.
She remembers all that, Jim, and she doesn't even work here.
but listening to her, it just makes me. We use the same skills. We have the same thing. These two jobs are so close together, and I know you're dealing with lives.
Yeah.
We are too, out on the road, other people's lives. But just the skill set.
It's funny because it reminds me of a couple things. Go ahead, Jim. I didn't mean to say that.
No. Go ahead.
So one is I met a captain of an engine, right? And he said, if you ever come to one of my codes, it's dead silent. Well, dead silent's not the right word. So maybe life silent, but
sure.
He's like, everyone's got a job. So there's 5 or 7 firemen in this room doing CPR and nobody's saying anything because everybody knows exactly what to do.
Right.
And then when you said it's exactly what we do, it made me think of, I've probably swapped trailers with Super Dave. I'm just going to make a number up. 50 to 100 times. Me and you have gone out, dropped a hook or hooked up. We don't really need to talk when we do that.
That's a low number, Jim.
200. Together, 100, 200, whatever the number is. And then there's other people, it's like, we have to communicate so much to do the same job. It's like, I'd rather just go do it on my own, almost, Yeah. But when you work together and you're professionals like that, it is pretty quiet.
Yeah. As she said that, it made me think of the silent warriors.
They
go out and they just get it done every day. There's not a big communication about it. Dispatch asks them to do whatever.
Done.
If they are asked a question, I know so many of them jump in, help, but silently, and that's fantastic. There's so many similarities, that we need to, use, I guess. There was so many things you said. I should have made like lots of notes.
She
right?
said a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the best way.
I'm a talker. I'm a talker like him.
I got to say, you talk almost as fast as Erica.
Yeah.
Like you two are, man.
Yeah.
Screaming.
So if you're listening on 1.5 times speed, just be careful. You got to slow down for my parts. Listen.
That's funny.
No, I think you have raised me in such a way that professionalism is a big thing for me. I think I've made it as far as I have. I've had many opportunities to advance to leadership levels at my facility. I decided not to do that, but I think that comes from wanting to do the best, and really I want to encourage everyone out there just to think, what would you want your child to do? How would you want your child to act? That's a big thing for me. If you don't have children, what would you want from someone else? It's so silly, but the golden rule applies in life every day for me. How would I want to take care? How would I want my grandma taken care of? How would I want to be taken care of? How would you want someone to drive around you? I know that's so silly, but this morning I flashed a truck over on the highway. Dad has taught me to do that. He was super respectful, driving well, was trying to get around a semi that was loaded. It's so easy. It's so easy to be polite and do the right thing, and traffic flowed smoother versus someone not letting him in. He's now stopped. More cars are stopped, and that's professionalism. That is, he did all the right things. He waited, waved at me after. And I think that's huge. Those are just being nice people doing the right thing. And you guys battle against a-holes who are not doing the right thing on the road all the time. Don't get me wrong. I love to speed. But it's
as long as you have the space.
I am also not driving 100,000 pounds. What do they weigh? Not supposed to weigh that, but
we'll say 80. We'll say 80.
Close.
We get close. We'll say 80.
Yeah, 80. But I've been also a part of really bad truck driving accidents. I've seen them when I was doing high risk OB stuff. We had a truck that rear-ended a pregnant mom. She broke both her femurs. Ended up having to deliver via C-section because there was just no way.
Oh, my.
But things like that. And I think you guys are out there. You have the opportunity to prevent things like that. And I think that's incredible. The human experience is the same no matter where we're at, and we should try to prevent accidents and safety. And I think that's huge. I've always had such a great deference and respect. Like I said, I didn't get the driving gene. And for people who do have that and you have these skills, I mean, transportation is key. It's funny, during COVID, when things were shut down, we had such problems getting supplies. but truckers were on the road. It was essential personnel. I was essential personnel. Truckers are essential personnel. And that says something, right? Like, you keep America running. And that's so incredible and such an honor in its own way. And like I said, I have such deference for that, because without you, I can't do my job. Without you, I can't take care of patients. Without you, patients can't even get where they need to go, you know? And that's what an incredible opportunity to take that on, take that role, be so proud of what you do. So yeah, I think you guys should rock on. I mean, I grew up in this industry, even though I'm not part of it, and I'm very proud of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Jim and Dave, you had anything for Danielle before we move on?
Some things crossed my mind, Jam, as we went through it, but I'm not sure she can talk about it, because she probably shares some stuff with me that, you know, the HIPAA kind of stuff that I shouldn't put
You can ask me, and I'll say.
You'll say nope.
Yeah. No, I have never given you names, which is what
I don't know. In the beginning, and I've probably told these guys a story, but
yeah.
I know in your early nursing career, you had some different cultures you dealt with, and one of them was like they were making rice in the room and doing stuff like that. Can you tell a couple of just those stories, because they were funny, and I know some of the women even spit on you, because culturally that's what they did. So I'll let her continue that.
So JBS, I'm sure you guys have heard of JBS, the meatpacking plant. They bring a ton, and that's located in Greeley. So they bring in a ton of immigrants, specifically from Central America and then Africa, and so we have a lot of patients who are Somali. And these women are amazing. In their culture, they believe every baby is a blessing. So like birth control is not a thing. I had to learn so much. And we've actually, the refugee center in Greeley, and we have incredible clinics that provide care to these patients. And they were coming from, Africa's a third, not just Africa, but basically third world medicine, no medicine. So some of these women have delivered in Somalia. Some of them have delivered in refugee camps in other countries, other continents. And so they also, the really unique thing, and I won't go into it so much, but they believe in, it's called female genital mutilation. And so they remove parts of a woman's genitalia, and that's not done all the time, but it's still a very, very common practice. And so there was huge things that I had to learn and that I had to overcome, and that I had to be like, okay, this is your culture. I have to meet you where you're at. And that was hard, because I'm coming from this going like, oh my God, that's horrific,
right.
But for them, it was every day, and I needed to be respectful of that before going into there. But some of the things that Dad's talking about is it's good luck, to kind of like choo. They would spit on me as I was helping, and they would pinch the fat on the back of my arm. And I this was like my very first year in nursing, and I'm like, what is happening in this room right now? But they were the matriarchs. It's such a maternal, beautiful. The aunties are there, their moms are there, their grandmas are there. It's such a female environment, and because I met them where they're at, I love taking care of these patients. My dad will attest. I will take a Black woman, Hispanic woman. I will take anyone over not an English speaking patient, because it's so incredible to immerse yourself in someone else's culture and to really try and understand. So because I developed those bonds, they loved me, and that was all good luck and thankful. And I've received more hugs and more love, really trying to work within those. And there's this thing, and this is one of those things that I advocate against. For years they were like, don't eat before you have your baby, like eat a light breakfast when you're being induced. I'm such a not fan of that. If you told me when I was having a baby that I couldn't eat, I would punch you in the face. So if I don't want to be taken care of that way, I'm not going to make the same rules. And it's very important in their culture to drink rice milk. So they cook in the room, and they make this rice milk drink, which is just so important. And culturally, that's very significant. And who am I to tell you like that you can't have your rice milk? However, the caveat to this, like I said, I've been thrown up on more times, is that a big part of labor is once you are in active labor, your body is like, we don't have time to digest. We're running a marathon. We're delivering a baby. So your other systems kind of shut off. And one of those is your digestive tract. It says, well, we don't have time for this, so we're just going to get it out. So I've actually had a patient who like pulled my shirt open and threw up like in
What?
in my bra. So I had to change my whole top, and she felt so bad, but it was the rice milk drink, and that is not something to be thrown up on with.
I don't think anything is really to be thrown up on.
Yeah,
it's all gross.
Yeah, but this
Yeah.
is different. This is a different smell. Like I knew, I was like, okay, wow. But yeah, that's one of the things. I love when women have delivered at home. Like some of my favorite patients are from Guatemala, and they are so big in midwifery care or doula care there. It's just like delivering at home is just normal. You deliver naturally, you deliver in your kitchen, and so they come there and we want them to get in the bed and get on their back. And that's such a Western medicine way to deliver a baby that it's convenient for the doctor. And I have these moms who are, squatting on the floor, and I'm on the floor, laying underneath them ready to catch their baby. And I'm trying to tell the doctor, get down here. So like, she wants to deliver standing. And they're like, standing? And and we're speaking Spanish and we're doing all the things. And, really getting other staff members to meet that patient where she's at. She delivered 4 of her babies at home, squatting in her kitchen. Why should she have to deliver in a bed on her back?
Are you fluent in Spanish?
Not fluent.
Pretty good.
I Spanglish really, really, really well.
Okay, gotcha.
I should just finish and take classes. I probably could be fluent.
We've joked you do better with a little cerveza.
Yeah.
When we've traveled together.
Yeah. A couple shots of tequila.
And the gentlemen or the women we've talked to, they enjoy it. They love talking to you.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
But yeah, those are some of my favorite things. I think. Again, I don't mind. If screaming, I think you want to scream your baby out. And, there's other people who aren't a fan of that. And I'm like, girl, get it. Like, girl power. I love people to play music. If I can encourage people while they're waiting to make a playlist while we deliver, that's like my other favorite thing. When you listen to Push It, when you're.
Push it real good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. While we're pushing, you got to laugh. You got to giggle.
That's funny.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to have.
And I know you've mentioned to me, like with the dads, that you've become attuned, that you can tell, you go, hey, are you doing all right? And then, they might tell you, yeah, and you recognize that, no, they're not going to make it.
Right. Yeah, people change colors. And they get this, like, it's like their head kind of tilts back, and you're like, oh, you okay? I'm like, nope, go sit down. Sorry, here's some juice. Which is crazy. But I think there's something, I've joked even during epidurals and stuff like that. I've had more EMT, firefighters, people in the field, like, get sick, or get passed out. And I think it's because, again, that's your loved one, that's your partner, and seeing your partner in pain,
I see
and
what
you
you're
know
saying.
too much, but you don't know enough.
Right.
And that's like the ultimate sweet spot for like, oh, I don't know about this. They're watching a big old needle go in their person's back, and they know there are risks, right? They're very, very small. But you think to yourself, what if something goes wrong? And then you're working yourself up because
Right.
you know.
It's all going to go wrong in your head.
Yeah. You know just enough.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've seen Danielle born. I've seen my other 2 girls born, Allie and Erica and stuff. And it is an amazing for the fathers that have not seen that.
Yeah.
It is an amazing thing. I didn't get sick or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I know my favorite story is the one with Holly, when they were asking different questions and she was in labor and we didn't make it there in time for her to have any pain medicine. And, kind of the first time I've really seen Holly scream and that kind of stuff. And they were asking me questions, and I couldn't answer one of the questions because I was like, I couldn't think, like you said, I'm so involved with my partner, Holly, being screaming and in pain. And she finally looked at me and she goes, do you not know anything? And I'm like, right now, nope. I couldn't even barely tell you my name. You know? So it's women are, I'm a proponent for how incredible women are. I've seen both you and Allie break their ankles, and the pain they can withstand. Holly, having a baby, she didn't.
No, Danielle broke hers here, didn't she?
No, it was.
Were you on a ladder here, weren't you?
No, it was at home. Dave, yeah.
But it was a step stool.
Maybe I'm thinking of Evelyn. She
Mom-
broke her.
mom-
Yes.
Yeah,
Arm
broke her
too.
wrist.
Right,
Broke her wrist here.
wrist.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right,
And
you're
just the amount of pain that women can handle is incredible. It's,
Yeah.
Jim, you think you could deliver a baby?
No.
No?
No, I've Deliver?
Yeah, not have one, deliver one.
I was thinking, I don't know if I could have one. Because no, I've seen that, Jam. No, I don't think it'd be. Yeah, I think I could deliver a baby.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very
I think
cool.
I don't think. In fact, we were just talking because Sam is having surgery on his shoulder, and I was just talking with Erica and Holly, and Erica was like, "I don't think I could do that surgery. I can't imagine cutting somebody open and moving and doing that kind of stuff." And she asked me if I could, and I'm like, "Yeah," because I look at it as mechanicking.
Right.
As fixing something on a car, or moving the bolt, or connecting this rod, I could do that. But then there's that other phase of like an EMT Jam where you show up and people are screaming, there's blood, there's
Right.
bones exposed, that's a whole different thing
Right.
compared to like, that person is out, you've got, you're a sterile situation, you've got a napkin, you've disattached, I guess,
Yeah.
from what was going on. I mean, but jumping in and doing things, I think I'm probably pretty good at that, Jam. But in that situation of somebody bleeding or bone showing or stuff like that, I don't know. I've not had that.
See, for me, I feel like, and I haven't experienced all that. I mean, I've seen some things, but not necessarily that. But to me, the emergency, the mission to fix it would probably keep my mind off it versus, coming in to do a surgery where you got really time to think about what's going on. I'd rather it be the emergency where
The
it's like,
opposite way.
we just got to fix this. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. I mean, like showing up at an accident and what do we have to do to get that person out of
Right.
the car? There's my ball game.
Right.
But tending to that person that's injured in that moment, I don't know.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like fixing a pipe that's leaking. You got to stop the leak.
Exactly, Jam. It's just and you have to get in that mind space if you're going to be, helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to compartmentalize. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a big
absolutely.
thing. I think either because I do both, right? I do surgeries, and I do the stuff, the emergency stuff. And I think you have to shut it down. I mean, it's hard. I think people experience things differently, and I compartmentalize well compared to some of my coworkers, which is, I think, why I've then leaned in and been a support person,
Sure.
right? But there is this element of shutting down. I mean, even Dad pulled me out a lot of times when I was taking care of Grandma because I went into like nurse mode, and I didn't shut it off. And then we would leave. He's like, I'm taking you out of the house so you can like have that breathing moment. I think he recognized that. And it's so crazy. You are able to just like, I have a switch.
Sure.
And I think that's interesting.
Yeah, when you've through the years, Danielle, when you've talked about fetal demise, and I can barely say the word to you without choking up right now.
Right.
Because I think of that, losing any one of the girls or anybody losing anybody. I mean, Sergio's been through that, and his wife, and I mean, I
That's
get
a
it,
tough one.
and the stories Danielle's told me, and
Yeah.
they would call on her. She's told me that they've called on her, to dress the baby and
Yeah.
and clean up and present it to the family and
Wow.
stuff like that. And I'm like,
How do you
oh
do
my
it?
God, how the hell do you do that?
Yeah.
I have to talk quickly right now just to go, to spit it out.
I
'Cause
like
if I-
how you call it an honor, Danielle.
Yeah.
yeah,
To be able to provide like an
Yeah.
element of peace, to be able to try and be part of the healing
Sure.
process is such an honor, such a huge thing for me. And it's weird to say, like,
You're-
right, I try to be respectful and say, like, I love to do that because
Right.
it's such, and I feel like I told you, you give a piece of yourself to those patients.
You're invited into one of the most intimate experiences
Right.
in somebody's life.
Right.
Whether it goes perfect or
Right.
if it goes south, you're invited into something that other people are not.
Right.
So I could see where you feel honored to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the respect, Jam, and I think I've said it, and I know I've told the story to other people. As Danielle was taking care of Mom, one of the hospice nurses, we were in constant contact with the hospice nurses. I was talking to the hospice nurse. We were on this level. I asked, would you talk to my daughter? She's a labor and delivery nurse. And it went to a whole different level.
Right.
Those two's communication
Right.
was amazing,
Yeah.
and she didn't, the hospice nurse didn't share that kind of stuff with me.
Sure.
And what she shared with Danielle, and you could tell the hospice nurse was was one of those people.
One of the people you want.
Yeah, was one of the people you want, And she said, I'll get you through this, because we do the same thing, Danielle. It's just on two different ends of our life.
Wow.
And it was a good, listen to their conversation, because it was on speaker, was amazing. But those are those seasons in life that you just, no matter how sad it is, it's something that you'll never forget.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to move on. I know
we do.
Danielle's got a hard stop at, we'll say 9:28.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
9:30, it's fine.
And I did see the email. I'm waiting. Super Dave said he had a special high road haul-in for Danielle.
All right.
So
well, we
I've
better
been
get
waiting to hear
moving.
that.
Got a couple questions from the audience. First one's actually not a question. It is a slogan from Steve Barnes. He brought this up because he was listening to the podcast. We talked about the accident we had last week, and he felt like he wanted to share this. And it's a slogan he came up with, if I can find it. Here it is. He says, after hearing about last week's incident, I came up with a new slogan. Feel free to use it or scrap it. And it goes like this. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow isn't promised. Do it right today. So there you go.
Nice.
I like
Absolutely.
it.
I knew that's where you were going, Jan, but obviously he's trying to supply a solution to a problem. And you got to love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then George Potgeeter, he had a question from the audience, and he says, in regards to trainees and trainers, are they allowed to run 27 or 28 tons while they're with their trainer or higher? So can they run heavy? Can they run over 80,000 on secondaries? Can they run 85? Can they use a heavy permit, up to 92,000 if they're with their trainer?
No.
There we go.
Yeah,
They
they're
can
not-
run 85 on a secondary because that's legal. That's standard weight limits, but they cannot use an overweight permit.
No, I would say the easy answer to that, and thanks for asking that, George, if it came up, and I know, Dave, you just spit it out, but at that moment, who is the captain of that ship?
The trainer.
What?
I mean, the trainer's responsible.
Behind the wheel, though, Jim.
The trainee.
Yeah, right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's where I would have to default that to. Who's at the wheel at the
Got
time?
it. Yeah, according to law enforcement or DOT, the person behind the wheel.
Yeah, absolutely.
According to me, that's your world. You're
the
responsible
trainer.
for everything
Yeah,
in it.
yeah.
Yep.
There's that gray area of who's doing what. but-
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
But you're right. When it
My
comes
only
to
thought on that, though, too, Jim and Jim, is it better to get them to feel the weight when they're with a trainer rather than when they're on their own 90 days from now and they've never hauled 95,000 pounds before,
Yeah,
or
good.
92? And then they find themselves coming down Turkey Creek Canyon through a curvy, steep road with a river on one side and traffic coming by at 60 miles an hour. So maybe it is a good idea to train him to do a load.
Yeah, a combination.
Right.
There are all sorts of gray areas because where I feel me and Jam are right, but I also feel you're
Because
totally right.
there's a big difference between
is.
85,000 and
92.
92,000.
I mean, we talked about it. That's throwing, like we joke, that's throwing
Oh,
Dave's pickup or
yeah.
my pickup up on top of the load.
Yep. Absolutely.
And I think you get a lot of feel by letting the trainer drive the truck at those weights. You get that feeling, but you don't get that experience of the wheel turning, the brakes breaking, setting the jake, where it needs to be, dropping off that hill. I think you're right, Dave. I think that's back to you, Jam. Maybe the trainer is in charge. At a certain point, he's into the 2 weeks of training or a week of training.
Right.
You got to let the trainee take that.
You know what my answer to George was? Because I didn't know it was a question for the podcast. I said, use your discretion.
Yeah, there's that.
If he's a capable person that's been kicking ass and just, or she, just been kicking ass and doing the job great and they can handle it, great. If they're having trouble going down the road with 80,000, don't give them 92.
Yeah.
So I think it's a discretion thing.
Discretion is a description of what I call the gray area.
There you go.
You know,
I like it. Just moving along, safety topic of the week. Slow down and move over for emergency vehicles and tow trucks. There you have it.
Absolutely. Don't forget, move the hell over too. I hate when people pass that cop or even that guy broke down alongside the road. Move the hell over.
Yeah.
Slow up.
Or just slow down. Yeah. If you
Yeah.
can't move over, slow down.
Yeah, slow down. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say I had an experience on 270 yesterday morning. There was a cop. There was a car that got hit that was way over on the shoulder, and there was a cop that was on the shoulder as well, not even straddling the fog line. And we were going at snail speed, you know what I mean? And people were making it worse to me by moving over into the left lane. Mm-hmm. You're doing 2 miles an hour. Just do 2 miles an hour.
Yeah.
They're on the side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to do 60 by them, but I think it was just better to stay where I was.
I guess I love that word. What's the discretion in that situation?
Right.
You've already slowed up. If
Right.
something goes on,
Yes.
you're going slow enough to stop.
Yes, exactly. All right, tips and tricks from Ray Davis. Warmer weather brings hotter temps. Now that it's warming up, we all got our air conditioners cranked up. But be aware, if you have an air conditioner all the way up, full blast, it will freeze up on you and you'll be miserable for hours waiting for it to thaw out. So make sure you set it to auto and keep it at a comfortable temperature to stay cool for the hot days. Also, hotter weather brings hotter roads. This will heat your tires up, and if you don't have the proper air pressure set, for every pound you lower in your tire creates 2 degrees hotter. So if you're 10 psi lower in your tire, it's heating up 20 degrees hotter. And that's what makes tires blow. So proper air pressure is critical, and another heat killer is brakes. We need to use our engine brakes properly when going down the hills at lower speeds, letting the engine brake do its job. This way we are not heating up our brakes, warping or cracking them, or even worse, a rim. Hot brakes can even blow tires if hot enough, even worse, catch on fire. Make sure you have plenty of water and fluids for the day to keep your mind and body cool. Hope all is well with the JFW family and friends. Remember, safety has no blind spots. Looking lean, sit up in your stool, don't be a fool. Much love and respect always. Ray Ray, the Black Sheep, 0013.
Good job, Ray Ray. Appreciate it, buddy.
For sure.
All right, Soup, hit us
Awesome.
with that high road hauling.
Awesome. Well, Danielle, I actually had a brand new high road hauling ready to go for today. And then I pulled this out of the archive. Okay. Did this one 6 years ago, but I think you would really, really get a kick out of it and absolutely love it. So, and Jam said he kind of remembered this one.
Oh.
So I was like, well, cool.
Must be a good one.
Nobody ever remembers them.
They're all good.
So, anyway, something happened last month that showed just how enduring a bond a neonatal intensive care nurse, Vilma Wong, has with her impossibly tiny patients, even after 32 years on the job. Wong was working a day shift earlier this month at Lucille Packard Children's Hospital when she spotted a young man in blue scrubs near one of the incubators. All medical personnel have to check in at the nurse's station before examining the prematurely born infants, whose frail bodies are tethered to their cots by feeding and breathing tubes. "Who are you?" she asked the second-year pediatric resident, Brandon Seminatori. Have you heard this before?
No, I love my residents, so
Yeah.
whenever there's the story.
So, Brandon Seminatori, who is training to become a child neurologist. His last name sounded very familiar. She recalled, "I kept asking where he was from, and he told me that he was from San Jose, California. And that, as a matter of fact, he was a premature baby born at our hospital. Then I got very suspicious because I remember being the primary nurse to a baby with the same name. To confirm her hunch, she asked him if his dad was a police officer. There was a big silence. She said, there was a big silence, she said. And then he asked if I was Vilma. Seminatori was stunned. Wong remembered caring for him 28 years ago. Out of the tens of thousands of kids who've passed through the unit since then, she and fellow nurse Cass Pilon, are legendary in his family for their kindness and tender care. When they met the first time, Brandon weighed just 2 pounds, 6 ounces. Needless to say, he has grown quite a bit since then. Meeting Vilma was a surreal experience, he said. She cares deeply for her patients to the point that she was able to remember a patient's name almost 3 decades later. For Wong, meeting Seminatori for the second time was a joy. As a nurse, she said, it was kind of like your reward. Vilma is an example of someone who has a passion for life and a love for what they do. They care so deeply that when they touch other people, they leave an imprint that can last a lifetime. Even though we may not be a caregiver in a situation like this, it does not mean that we, as truck drivers and everybody else, we can't have a passion and love for what we do in our daily lives to make an impact on people in such a way that it will touch someone else forever. And the quote this week is, give yourself a gift of 5 minutes of contemplation in awe of everything you see around you. Go outside and turn your attention to the many miracles around you. This 5-minute-a-day regimen of appreciation and gratitude will help you focus on your life in awe. And that was spoken by Wayne Dyer.
Awesome.
Can you imagine? I mean, you hear stories of that, and I know they're true stories and it happened, but can you imagine that 30 years later? You know, all that different kind of stuff. Or you run into somebody that knows this person that knows this person, and you're like, what a small world. You know, really, truly is. Yeah. But
I will bet this happens to you, Danielle, because you've been doing it a long time, and there's going to be people out there that are going to grow up, and maybe you won't even know that you were the birthing nurse for that person, but maybe you will.
Yeah.
But I bet you that'll happen to you.
Yeah, it happens every once in a while, like in the grocery store. Of course, like because of the HIPAA thing, I can't say like, oh, I know you. But they'll come up to me and be like, do you remember me? You delivered my baby. But I would love to have a baby come back that I've delivered and be. Some of our doctors who've been around for a long time, they deliver mom and then they end up delivering the baby.
Mom's baby.
Yeah. And I just think that's so cool. But yeah, I hope so. I hope I make an imprint. I always, like I told you, some of these women don't receive health care unless they come to the hospital. So that point of contact, I think, even for patients struggling with substance abuse and stuff like that, like, what if I'm the person that changes your life? Yes. What if I take the time and I'm the only person that's ever listened to you or ever done something nice for you, and that can change your life?
Amen.
Yeah.
I'm going to consider that your final thoughts.
Okay, perfect.
Unless you have more. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts, guys?
Just right quick. For the
right quick.
Okay, I'll quit using that word. It takes us down a different path, doesn't it? I think you have to prioritize self-improvement. I think people need to think about that. And the self-improvement I'm after is, if this is what you're doing and being a truck driver, I hope you practice some kind of self-improvement in this field, in this trade, you know, just like Danielle's doing, you know, like we've all done when we get thrown in a new job or a new position or a new stuff, is you keep trying to work on self-improvement. I think what we talk about here is a lot of repeat stuff of, you know, is the, you know, the hydraulic hose on the deck plate, did you sweep off the tailgate, all that kind of stuff. But if you're doing all that, that's self-improvement. And I think that's what I'm asking for when you know, can recognize that the airbags are down on the truck before you leave. Mm-hmm. That's self-improvement. And I would like people to try to practice that in our field, because then you can share that experience with somebody else. And, you know, Danielle said it in her thoughts of, without us, she can't do her job. Mm-hmm. And that's how important you all are. And I don't know if we think about that enough. And we should evolve with the world around us. Work on new skill sets, read books, watch videos, listen to podcasts. Hopefully this podcast has something that adds to your life. So please listen, ask people to listen to it. I think it'll make you better in the future. And I pray that we are doing that. You know, Danielle included today, Brother Dave, our guests we've had. I pray that we make a difference in your life by this podcast. You know, try to expand your mind. You might find useful information that you can bring with you to work, and then you have the special ability to help somebody else. Mm. And if you can ever help somebody else, I mean, I think it's so important. Mm-hmm. ran into a situation this weekend, and you know, my brother said good job, Jams told me good job, and it's not to brag about myself, but I helped a homeless person, and I asked the person, I said, I don't mean to embarrass you, but do you have any money? And they said no, and I gave them some money, and I did not have to. I just absolutely did not have to. And I don't know, I felt from the podcast, I felt from the culture at JFW, I felt from how my age and where I am in my life, I had to give this person some help, and the easiest help was just some money,
Right.
which I don't know what they did with it.
Right.
Bought drugs, changed their life. I don't know, but it self-improved myself, and I felt good about it when I left. So, you know, work on yourself for a little bit. Take the 5 minutes and change your life.
I love it. Soup, anything else?
I want to touch a little bit on what Danielle said earlier about the human experience. And I thought that was really cool, because the human experience is the same across the board. You know, it could be joy, it could be sorrow, it could be hatred, it could be love. All of those things are what we all take in and experience every day. So as we all go through our day, and today and tomorrow and every day, let's try to help make the experience, the human experience, better for everybody.
Love it.
Absolutely, super Dave.
I'm going to say be the person that you want, right? And what I mean by that is be the person that you want to show up. I wouldn't want Danielle to show up, you know, for one of my family members that was going to give birth or need some nursing care or health care. That's who I would want. I would want Jim or Super Dave to be the truck that's driving around my family. Be that person that you want to show up in any given situation for you and your family. That makes sense.
No, it does. Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, let's say the creed and get on out.
Okay.
All right.
Together we face and overcome all that stands before us. Together we are accident free. Together we joyfully create honest value for those we serve. Together we celebrate our differences and respect those with whom we work. Together we are accountable for our words and our actions. Together we are the JFW family. All right.
I know we're hurrying or you know, trying to get out of here, but and I just got to say, Jam, because I don't think you've missed for a long time. Remember Amber.
Oh, yeah.
Would you
Yep.
say that, please? I mean,
Absolutely. Don't forget to go. Well, here's my spiel. I forgot my spiel.
just because we haven't missed, maybe
Yeah.
I'm superstitious.
Yep, I love it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Channel 23 podcast. Hit that follow button. Also, don't forget to go back and listen to episode 72 to help find Amber's mom. Links to her story will be in today's show notes.
Absolutely.
Thanks for doing that, Jim.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Danielle.
Yep.
It was a pleasure. Always.
Yeah,
proud
you were
of
a great guest. I loved it, every minute of it. See everybody next week.
All right, be safe, everybody.
Thank you.
I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a looking for another load. Well, it's a family tradition, any Rocky Mountain day. Our fathers before us showed us the way. We worked for asphalt cowboys and concrete kings, but that's never been a problem, 'cause we got diesel in our veins. We've got diesel in our veins. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. I hear there's a couple million tons to move. I see them everywhere. So you best get out their way and watch that sand and gravel disappear. There's another run to make. We gotta get it there on time. And we got what it takes to lay it all out on the line. We'll lay it all out on the line. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks got the best drivers in town. They got all the tools they need to keep that hammer down. When they hit them scales, they won't need to dodge them, won't need to duck them. They just keep that hammer down, and they keep that diesel trucking. Keep that hammer down, and keep that diesel trucking. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-looking for another load. They just keep them doors a-closed, keep them butts in their seats, 'cause those customers are calling, and those red trucks can't be beat. They've gotta put the hammer down and pick up another load. Get it off the ground, keep them eyes open and on the road. Keep them eyes open on the road. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. Breaker 23, anybody got a copy on that Channel 23 podcast? Welcome, and thanks for listening.